Global evolution. I transplanted the heart of the Supreme God. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 601. How about eliminating King Kyong first? Bai Pu was not worried about his strength being exposed at this time. It was already the final of the Heavenly Man battle. Even if it was broadcast live worldwide, the four opponents couldn't watch it live. The Sandbinder activated a black rope hell, and the invisible air turned into chains, trying to bind the winged catfish. The winged catfish twisted its body violently, and the black ropes that gradually materialized were broken before they were completely solidified. But this step undoubtedly diverted a lot of attention from the winged catfish. It had to keep twisting and struggling to prevent the black ropes from solidifying. Bai Pu took this opportunity to stab a dozen meters of fighting spirit arrows with a doomsday blade pistol, hitting the back of the winged catfish. A deep blood groove was opened on its back. The winged catfish opened its mouth in anger, and a blue water arrow shot towards Bai Pu. Source water arrow, spray out the high-pressure water flow in the body, causing moderate magic damage, doubling the damage to other shields except the earth attribute shield, and increasing the damage to the water and fire attribute shields to 300%. Fortunately, Bai Pu had the skill of magic sand, and he could cast the earth wall instantly to block the arrow of source water. When the winged catfish attacked Bai Pu, the magic sand plate under the feet of the Sandbinder had already brought him close to the winged catfish. The pair of arms condensed by yellow sand split into a large number of bandaged-like lassos, which firmly tied the tail of the winged catfish. The winged catfish struggled hurriedly, but the next second, there was only a loud bang. The Sandbinder exploded. This is the result of 10 portions of magic sand gathered together and exploded. 5,662. The terrible damage number flashed by, and the tail of the winged catfish was blown off, revealing the white fish bones and reddish-brown blood. Because the single damage was too high, the winged catfish not only had its tail broken, but the explosion power penetrated deep into the spine along the fish bones, and the whole fish was seriously injured, and its fierceness was greatly weakened. It seems that this tactic is very successful. The Sandbinder can be used as an intelligent self-destructing bomb. Bai Pu silently confirmed this tactic. Looking at the seriously injured catfish, Bai Pu took the opportunity to eject a drop of pure blood, wanting to turn it into a slave. However, when the pure blood fell on the forehead of the winged catfish, he saw the heavenly mark rune flashing on the catfish's forehead, forcibly squeezing out the pure blood that had seeped in. The target has the heavenly mark and cannot be controlled by pure blood. Bai Pu shook his head and had no choice but to take back the pure blood and kill the winged catfish. A mark with mysterious words fell on Bai Pu's palm. You have obtained a heavenly mark. Current collection progress. 1/100. There are a total of 100 heavenly marks in the entire catastrophic abyss. Every 10 minutes, the heavenly mark will generate a sense and provide the carrier with the location information of the remaining marks. A string of countdown numbers jumped rapidly. Agay, you are really good at making things happen. Bai Pu complained, put away the heavenly mark, and flew towards the depths of the catastrophic abyss. Every 10 minutes, other heavenly marks will be displayed, which is the active PK of the 5 players who guide the battle between heaven and man. There are only 100 heavenly marks in the Cataclysm Abyss, so collecting 1 or 99 heavenly marks is actually the same. Bai Pu silently calculated, because there are only 100 heavenly marks in the field, as long as Bai Pu has 1, the other 4 people can't get rid of Bai Pu if they want to collect 100. So, after understanding the rules, Bai Pu quickly realized that the first priority now is not to attack, but to survive. Li Ling collected the information of the other 4 players, and Bai Pu knew the difficulty of the 4 people. The air combat state is actually not very friendly to Bai Pu. If he faces any other person alone, Bai Pu is sure to win, but if he faces the siege of 2 or 3 people at the same time, it is hard to say what the result will be. Switching to ground combat, Bai Pu is not afraid to deal with the other 4 people at the same time. Unfortunately, there is no place to set foot in the Cataclysm Abyss. Needless to say, the area outside the high wall of waves is out of bounds, and going out means a fall, and the abyss under the feet is also out of bounds. As long as the tip of the toe steps on the swirling seawater, it means out of bounds. It is not easy for Bai Pu to maintain flight for a long time. Not to mention the Gangbu. Each time it is activated, it consumes Dao Qi energy. Even the magic sand used as a tray, when it is lifted, the magic contained in it is slowly consumed. Under normal circumstances, the tray formed by the magic sand has to hold Bai Pu's body, and consumes about 1 magic sand per hour. At this time, Bai Pu's demon refining sand skill has just reached level 7, and the total upper limit of magic sand has risen to 100, but he was only level 6 before, and the stored magic sand was only 50. In order to get the first mark of the sky, he exploded 10. Now if the magic sand is not charged, Bai Pu can maintain a floating state for a maximum of 40 hours. Although he could use his own magic power to recharge the magic sand for endurance, in this environment, Bai Pu's own state was more important. He didn't want to fight against Qin Kaiyong and other peak masters when his energy was depleted. Bai Pu moved down and gradually approached the bottom of the sea eye of the abyss of catastrophe. The fog around him became thicker and thicker, and the monsters that appeared became stronger and stronger. Just when Bai Pu was fighting a large mutant squid that was transparent and swam in the air like a parachute, he suddenly sensed a hidden and powerful breath approaching quickly. Bai Pu immediately retracted his move and swept back, looking vigilantly in the direction where the breath came from. In the gray fog, a strong ghost energy surged, and 2 red lights were looming. In the ghost energy, an illusory figure could be vaguely seen. "Are you the recently famous Steelheart? I heard that you are the biggest favorite to win this year's Heaven and Man battle." A hoarse voice sounded from the ghost energy. "It's just the flattery of some boring people," Bai Pu said calmly. He had already recognized the identity of the person who came. "Haha, my code name is Wild Ghost. Like you, I am a challenger for the title of this Heavenly Man." Wild Ghost spoke with an air of seniority. "Gang Xin, the biggest favorite to win this Heavenly Man battle is not you, but the last Heavenly Man Qin Kaiyong. His original strength was at the top level, and he got a golden relic weapon. In terms of hard power, he ranks first among the 5 of us. It's just that this kid is cunning and deliberately pushed you to a high position to cover up his edge." After a pause, Wild Ghost continued, "I have a suggestion. Why don't the 4 of us join forces to eliminate Qin Kaiyong first?" Bai Pu's heart moved, and then he said, "Senior Wild Ghost's suggestion is good, but I still want to know what the other 2 think." Wild Ghost smiled calmly. "The kid named Gufan has agreed. If you agree, I will go to Zuhulan again. After eliminating Qin Kaiyong, the 4 of us will rely on our own abilities." Chapter 602, Alliance. "If you can convince Zuhulan and Gufan, I can certainly participate," Bai Pu said indifferently. "However, I can't completely trust you either. After all, in this final of the Heavenly Man War, the offensive and defensive alliance we signed cannot be notarized by the will of the spirit world. The awakened can spend psychic points to notarize the will of the spirit world when cooperating with each other. Those who violate the covenant will be punished by the will of the spirit world. The intensity of the final punishment is proportional to the psychic points spent. However, in the final of the Heavenly Man War, the agreement between the 5 players can only be supported by each other's character and trust, and cannot be notarized by the will of the spirit world. Trust? The 5 people are in a competitive relationship. Everyone not only has to compete for the title of Heavenly Man, but also for the ranking. The first player to be eliminated is the candidate with the lowest ranking, and the candidate skills obtained are also the worst. If you can persist until the end and be eliminated, the candidate will be ranked first, and the candidate skills obtained must be the strongest. Of course, if there is a strong person who crushes the others, it is possible to force the other 4 to cooperate and fight. Now it seems that Qin Kaiyong is still quite important, which also provides the prerequisite for Yega's cooperation plan." Yega laughed and said, "Gangson, if you don't want to participate, in order to eliminate unexpected factors, I can only join forces with others to eliminate you first. After all, we don't want you to take advantage of the siege of Qin Kaiyong. In a word, either sit on the table or become the menu. It seems that I have no other choice. Senior Yega, can you find other people?" Bai Pu asked. "Just a little trick." Yega smiled slightly. Bai Pu followed Yega and found Zuhulan together. Zuhulan, as a candidate of the previous term, has a natural hostility towards the previous Shinran Qin Kaiyong. When he heard that they were going to besiege Qin Kaiyong together, he agreed. Yega was in front, flying in the mist, Zuhulan was wrapped in a warm breeze, and Bai Pu followed behind with a magic sands flying disc. Zuhulan was quite friendly to Bai Pu, Probably because both of them had official backgrounds. Zhu Hulin was the executive of the Central Center, and Bai Pu was the executive of the Jiangnan region. During the flight, they encountered a two-headed flying dragon with the mark of the heavenly mark. Under Bai Pu's strong enemy sense, insight, the combat power of this two-headed flying dragon is a few points stronger than that of the winged catfish, and should be the level of an 8th level enhanced warrior. However, in front of Yi Jiyue, Ziyue Hulin and Bai Pu, the two-headed flying dragon still had no power to fight back and was easily killed. With a whistling wind, the huge body of the two-headed flying dragon fell obliquely into the eye of the abyss, leaving only a mark of the heavenly mark on the spot. For a moment, the eyes of the three people were focused on the mark of the heavenly mark. Bai Pu took the initiative to say, "You two are seniors, I don't want this mark." He has only held one mark until now. Yi Jiyue said lightly, "Besieging Qingqiang is the top priority, there is no need to hurt the harmony for a mark." "I don't want it either, brother Ziyue Hulin, take it yourself." Ziyue Hulin bowed and smiled, raised his hand and sucked the mark into his palm. The three continued to move forward, and under the guidance of Yi Jiyue, they soon found the fourth partner, Gu Fan. Gu Fan had already promised Yi Jiyue, and he was overjoyed to see Yi Jiyue really bring Bai Pu and Ziyue Hulin to participate. At that moment, the four formed a team and went to find Qingqiang. During this period, the Heavens Mark produced several inductions. Each time it was sensed, the Heavens Mark would burn hot, and then in Bai Pu's retina, a three-dimensional fictional image of the entire catastrophic abyss appeared. Bai Pu was the only green dot in the center, and there were more or less red dots swimming in other positions. Bai Pu also recorded the number of Heavens Marks of other people. Yi Jiyue had 7, and Ziyue Hulin had 12. As a shooter, Gu Fan had the most, having obtained 37, and the dense red dots gathered together, red and purple. The rest of the red dots, almost all of them had only one Heaven's Mark, which was obviously a mutant monster of the catastrophic abyss. Bai Pu can also determine the position of Qingqiang through the Heavenly Mark. There are 18 Heavenly marks in the area about 3 kilometers to the north. The Heavenly Mark will become hot once every 10 minutes, showing the location of other Heavenly Marks. The duration of the display will also gradually increase, 10 seconds for the first time, 20 seconds for the second time, and so on. Bai Pu silently calculated, at this rate, after 60 times, the induction of the Heavenly Mark will take effect permanently. This time is not long, only 10 hours. It is conceivable that the more the battle between heaven and man goes on, the more intense the battle will be. In the northern area of the Cataclysm Abyss, in a thin mist, the previous heavenly man Qingqiang, holding a phoenix-winged gilded halberd, a pair of ice wings vibrating behind him, stabbed and fought a whale-like monster very flexibly. The whale-like monster sprayed black water balls from its mouth, floated to Qingqiang's side, and quickly expanded and exploded, but was blocked by a layer of pure white ice armor on Qingqiang's body. Finally, the whale-like monster was drained of blood by the phoenix-winged gilded halberd, and sank into the abyss with its belly turned upside down. Qingqiang reached out and picked up a Heavenly Mark, and suddenly looked at the mist not far away, and said loudly, "Since you are here, why do you have to hide? Haha, you are worthy of being the celestial being of the previous session. You have some ability to see through my ghost curtain." The ghost fog dissipated, and 4 people appeared. Wild Ghost stood in the front, with Gu Fan on the left, Zhu Hulin on the right, and Bai Pu standing at the end. "From the looks of you, it seems that you have formed an offensive and defensive alliance." Faced with this unfavorable situation, Qingqiang's face did not change much. "Yes, we have formed an alliance, and we will eliminate you first. Qingqiang, you should understand the principle that a big tree attracts the wind." Wild Ghost laughed. "Alliance? Interesting. Unfortunately, the alliance formed in the war between heaven and man is destined not to be recognized by the will of the spirit world. It is easier to break an alliance than to tear up a piece of paper. I'm curious, who of you 4 plans to withstand my counterattack?" Qingqiang glanced and looked at Bai Pu, who was hiding behind the crowd. "Gangson, you seem to be the MT? But as an MT, are you really confident in leaving your back to 3 potential enemies? Once I fall, the 3 of them will definitely hit your back. You know this better than me." Qingqiang glanced again and looked at Zhu Hulin. "Old Lin, you and I have known each other for 20 years, right? Do you think these new acquaintances are trustworthy, or do you think you can trust me, your old friend?" Zhu Hulin was slightly stunned. "What do you mean?" It's very simple. If you help me deal with these 3 people, I can do my best to help you become the first candidate for the title of Heaven and Man. King Keong said lightly, or do you think that after eliminating me, you have the ability to get the title of Heaven and Man? Of course I'm not sure. Zhu Huolin shook his head. Very good, if you can't get the title of Heavenly Man, becoming the first candidate is the best choice, right? King Keong pressed on. King Keong, I advise you not to deceive people here. No matter what, we will eliminate you, the strongest one, first, and the 4 of us will move up 1 place in the rankings. Everyone, do it. The wild ghost roared, and the invisible skeleton shadow turned into a black line and shot towards King Keong. Chapter 603 Siege. The black skeleton phantom was very fast and would track and accelerate until it hit the enemy. This ultimate skill was called shock, and it would create an illusion of fear when hitting the enemy. King Keong snorted and took the initiative to bump into the shock skeleton. His consciousness was blurred, and a pool of blood appeared in front of him. He, Zhu Huolin, Gufan, and Gangsun were lying in the pool of blood. Only the wild ghost stood tall and became the new celestial being. No. Losing the title of celestial being was the most horrifying thing in King Keong's heart. His spiritual will quickly condensed into a thin needle and poked into the illusion in front of him. With a pop, as if puncturing a bubble, the illusion of the wild ghost climbing to the top of the blood pool disappeared, and King Keong's eyes returned to clarity. This scene, although it seemed to take a long time, was actually only a moment. The ultimate skill, breaking the heart, that King Keong practiced had already taken effect passively, dispelling the influence of the shock skill. Top-level masters like King Keong will deliberately cultivate some abilities to remove mind control. Regardless of the special effects of the profound system or the attached equipment, it is impossible for the opponent to be killed in 1 second with just 1 mind control. Yegi also knows this. He uses the skill of shocking soul just to give King Keong a warning and create a first-hand advantage. Just when King Keong was in a trance for a short time, Bai Pu and the other 4 people had already silently swept their bodies and surrounded King Keong in a diamond shape. Gufan was the first to make a move. He pulled the lightning bow open, and the sound of electric current rang out. A dazzling arc of electricity formed between the bowstring and the bow arm, and the invisible lightning arrow shot out. Dark gold equipment lightning bow, passive skill, thunder arrow. This lightning arrow can actually adjust its trajectory slightly in the air, just like the spell of the caster. Lightning bow, +4 special effect, bow fighting. You can attach mental power to the arrow and adjust the angle of the arrow shooting. The size of the angle is related to your shooting expertise level. Under normal circumstances, the output of an archer's arrows is unstable, because the target can dodge and move. But Gufan, this archer, is very special. His arrows almost hit the target as soon as they are shot, and it is impossible to dodge without displacement. Zhu Huolin also made a move. He turned his body and swung the curved sickle on his right palm. A small dark gray tornado changed its irregular trajectory and whistled and cut towards King Keong. Dancing wind returned wind scythe. After Gufan and Zhu Huolin launched attacks from the left and right, the wild ghost who went around behind King Keong also began to exert his strength. The ghost fog extended, accompanied by the sharp whistling sound of a crying baby, and ghosts opened their terrifying big mouths and pounced on King Keong, wanting to tear King Keong into pieces and eat it. This is the proud skill of the wild ghost blood ghost swallowing. The ghost shadow causes damage and can restore part of the wild ghost's health. It can be called a powerful skill that combines offense and defense. A trifle. King Keong shouted angrily, and the phoenix-winged gilded halberd spun like a gyroscope, and an overwhelming strong wind surged out. A phantom of an old man in golden armor and a majestic and domineering figure flashed by. Chi. The strong wind turned into a sharp blade, offsetting the thunder arrows and defeating the sickle wind blade. The remaining power instantly condensed and turned into sharp edges visible to the naked eye, slashing into the black fog of the wild ghost. Ripples appeared on King Keong's body surface, which was a sign that the shield was under attack. Even though most of the invisible ghosts of the wild ghosts were dispersed, a few still pounced on him and bit him, but they were all blocked by King Keong's shield. However, the wild ghost was also in a very bad mood. Those ghosts seemed to be part of his body. After being destroyed, his health was also damaged. The health stolen by the remaining few ghosts was not enough for him to recover. Steel heart. Break his shield. The wild ghost shouted loudly. Bai Pu narrowed his eyes. The other 3 were actually long-range attack? Only one person in close combat? It must not be that simple. Gufan is not to mention. Ziyuahulan, the information says that he is good at close combat, but now he throws out wind blades from a distance. He must have kept something in reserve. Now Bai Pu can only go forward. Although he has long-range means, he is also thinking of keeping something in reserve. The four of them actually have a clear idea. After defeating King Keong, the four of them will have to fight a civil war. Now retaining a little strength will increase the chance of winning in the future. Bai Pu blocked King Keong with a shield in his left hand and a pistol in his right hand. Ling. The phoenix-winged gilded halberd swung out, and Bai Pu held up his shield to block. The expected fight of collapsing mountains and splitting rocks did not happen. As a strong man with an agility of more than 200 points, King Keong emphasized speed rather than destructive power when using this long-handled weapon. The phoenix-winged gilded halberd touched and left, and even borrowed part of Bai Pu's recoil force, drew a half-circle in the whistling, and hit Bai Pu's waist horizontally. King Keong's attack speed was amazingly fast. The two attacks were almost connected without any interval. Fortunately, the shield was wide enough, and Bai Pu only changed his position slightly, still blocking in the most comfortable direction. Ding ding ding. King Keong's attack was like a storm, and he attacked 7 times in a row, and the speed of each attack increased slightly. The first 6 times, Bai Pu deflected the shield and blocked King Keong's attack at the most reasonable angle. But the 7th attack came too fast. Although it was still within the coverage of the shield, the blocking angle was not perfect. This time, King Keong's phoenix-winged gilded halberd hit the edge of the shield, and slid sideways, hitting Bai Pu's arm. Bai Pu's body surface was rippled, but he was not injured. Facing such a powerful enemy as King Keong, Bai Pu did not have any arrogant ideas, and immediately opened the volcanic shield. King Keong cursed inwardly. He knew how the Dragon King felt when facing Bai Pu. It was like a turtle, with nowhere to bite. Give King Keong enough time, one-on-one, King Keong is confident that he can break Bai Pu's shield and wear him down. But Gufan, Zuhulan and Yega beside him are not idle either. With Bai Pu holding King Keong, the 3 of them let go of their hands and feet to attack. King Keong could have pursued the victory, but now he has to free up his hands to deal with it. The Genki surged and turned into a layer of Genki wall that was like a substance, blocking all the attacks of Gufan and the other 2. This looks very powerful, but at least half of the professional energy is wasted, and the control is not fine enough. But King Keong didn't care at all. The phoenix-winged gilded halberd drew a powerful arc and smashed at Bai Pu again. It was full of energy at a glance, and the tip of the tip had a huge green Genki edge of more than 10 meters. So crazy. His golden relic has a skill of looking down on others. When facing more than 3 people at the same time, the professional energy recovery speed doubles. The besiegers were envious and jealous, and they were even more afraid of King Keong. I had some strength left when I attacked, and I wanted to save my strength until I defeated King Keong before competing with the other 3. But now it seems that it is no longer possible. If I hold back, I really won't be able to defeat King Keong. Chapter 604 Elemental Reaction. The 3 wild ghosts originally had their own thoughts and didn't want to really work hard. The 4 besieged King Keong, who fought fiercely and vigorously, and was not at a disadvantage at all. Bai Pu didn't care. As an MT, he used the field to restrict King Keong, and then used the shield to withstand King Keong's melee attack. He had already completed the task excellently. Bai Pu's threat to King Keong was implicit. Because Bai Pu possessed the secret of collapsing mountains, as long as he freed his hands and hit King Keong once, he could break King Keong's shield. The shield skill is the last line of defense for top masters to avoid injury, and it has extraordinary psychological significance. Therefore, King Keong could not abandon Bai Pu and attack the remaining 3 people instead. He could only suppress Bai Pu with thunder-like attacks, so that Bai Pu could not use the secret of collapsing mountains. But the 3 wild ghosts, as output, could not break through King Keong's defense circle, and the pressure was too great. You have to know that the battle between heaven and man is broadcast live worldwide. They claim to be top masters and can't afford to lose this person. In desperation, the wild ghosts and others could only use their real skills. Summon Huinkwan. The wild ghost took the lead in performing a big move. The ghost fog condensed a new head on the neck and 2 new arms on the back. The energy intensity of the wild ghost with 2 heads and 4 arms was obviously improved by a large margin, and it had the aura of a lord. The ghost shadows he released were all covered with hideous armor, holding rusty longbows, and the arrows transformed by ghost energy whistled towards the blue sky. Zhua Hulan's figure spun several times, his robes fluttered, and a huge whirlwind slowly formed and moved towards the blue sky. This giant tornado obviously had a strong suction force, and the surrounding fog rushed in and was swept into the sky. The most dazzling cub on the field was Gufan. He pulled out an arrow condensed by cold air and drew his bow. The lightning energy of the lightning bow was condensed and turned into frost energy in a breath. At the moment the arrow was shot, it turned into a crystal clear ice ridge and shot away. King Keong's phoenix-winged gilded halberd deflected most of the ghost arrows, and the remaining arrows were borne by his own shield. His attention was largely focused on the huge ice prism shot out by the lightning bow. Swish! The phoenix-winged gilded halberd pulled and pulled, as if it had generated an extremely strong adhesion force. The huge ice prism turned a corner and slammed into Bai Pu's volcanic shield. Crash! The ice prism shattered, and the cold air filled the air. You are affected by Gufan's enchanted arrow, Ice Spike, and receive 628 points of mixed damage. Critical hit, Ice Spike additional effect, extreme cold takes effect. Your movement speed and attack speed are reduced by 50 points, and you are inflicted with the ice element attachment state for 8 seconds. Bai Pu cursed inwardly. His volcanic shield, which had already been consumed by King Keong, was hit by the critical height of the ice spike within a second and shattered directly. This shield skill, which is constantly replenished and maintained by injecting professional energy, once broken, means that the skill will enter a period of cooling, and then there will be no shield protection. Fortunately, Bai Pu still has the molten gold armor. He silently used the magic sand to lay a layer of sand armor on the surface of his body, and continued to use it to absorb damage. In the siege of King Keong, Bai Pu did not seek merit, but only to avoid mistakes. Anyway, King Keong did not explode equipment, so there was no need to compete for combat contributions. Protecting himself was the most important thing. Gufan's enchanted arrow ice spike was deflected by King Keong's ultimate skill jade belt around the waist, but King Keong would definitely not be able to use this ultimate skill for a second time in a short period of time. The most important thing is that when the ice spike exploded, the extreme cold effect also acted on King Keong. In addition to being slowed down, the latter was also attached with the ice element attachment state by the ice spike. Gufan immediately pulled out the second enchanted arrow. This arrow was dark red, but the inscription on it was gilded gold. He drew his bow and put an arrow on it. The energy of the lightning bow was immediately converted into a flame attribute. An arrow burning with red fire whizzed out and turned into a fire phoenix in midair, rushing towards the blue sky. This is Gufan's elemental reaction. Everyone present had collected information about other people. Gufan had traveled through many spirit worlds to create enchanted arrows, so his information was naturally the most circulated. Elemental reaction, a passive skill of the super magic archer profession. It increases the damage of the next attack according to the type of elemental reaction. There are several specific reactions, such as the fire and ice elemental reaction, which is called the melting reaction, which doubles the damage, the fire and water elemental reaction, which is called the evaporation reaction, which increases the damage by 50% and leaves an elemental attachment effect for continuous output. This independent damage increase is very terrifying, and it is different from the ordinary multiplier increase. Now Gufan has chosen the fire and ice reaction, and naturally he is pursuing the ultimate damage. Even though the combat power amplitude of the archer is lower than that of the melee profession, and there is no combat expertise bonus, but there is the passive killing move of elemental reaction. If the fire phoenix transformed by Gufan's arrow really hits, it will be a critical hit, skill amplification, and other multipliers are fully opened, and finally multiplied by the independent amplification of elemental reaction, 2 times. The power exceeds the full strength attack of the top melee profession, and the theoretical output is more than 4,000. Zuhulan and Yegi both came to their senses, and they all displayed their proud skills and besieged King Keong at the same time. But at this time, Bai Pu's heart surged with an unspeakable sense of crisis. He suddenly jumped back. The Gangbu was performed, and he instantly opened a distance of more than 10 meters from King Keong. Steel heart. Yegi was furious. At this critical moment, Bai Pu actually lost the chain. However, his scolding stopped before he could utter it. In full view of the crowd, the fire phoenix shot by Gufan turned a corner and chased Bai Pu and pounced. Bai Pu quickly adjusted his adaptive evolution to resist the damage of fire and ice attributes, and he seemed to be covered with a layer of red and white coating. He charged a gun and stabbed it out, and the arrow of Dao Qi hit the fire phoenix directly. The two energies collided and exploded. At the same time, they dissipated into nothingness. The energy aftermath of the fire phoenix triggered the ice element attached to Bai Pu's body, causing mixed ice and fire damage. However, Bai Pu's fire resistance was extremely high, and he had activated adaptive evolution, so the aftermath of this attack was very low, only 300 or 400. But it is conceivable that if Bai Pu did not jump back in advance, but stayed in place to fight King Keong, and dealt with the attacks of King Keong and Gufan at the same time, he would have suffered a great loss. Bai Pu looked directly at Gufan. If the first arrow Ice Edge Thorn was Gufan's mistake, and King Keong deflected the arrow, then the second arrow Fire Feather attack had nothing to do with King Keong. It was purely Gufan's mental power that controlled the arrow to change direction and aimed at Bai Pu to shoot a sniper arrow. Chapter 605 Steel Heart, Something is wrong with you. Gufan. Yi Gui shouted angrily again. This time his target was Gufan. What are you doing? Gufan spread his hands. King Keong smiled and said, Yi Gui, you are a nobody who jumped out of a crack in the stone, but you can win over masters in the battle between heaven and man. Can't I, a former heaven and man, make alliances? Long before you approached Gufan, I had already promised him the first candidate position. After a pause, King Keong looked regretful and continued, it's a pity that Gangsun was too alert and retreated early. If I had cooperated with Gufan, I could have severely injured Gangsun or even eliminated him, and this battle between heaven and man would have been much easier to fight. Yi Gui snorted coldly, so what if Gufan is your man? Now it's 3 people against 2 people, and the advantage is on my side. King Keong said calmly, Yi Gui, how can you be sure that I only arranged Gufan? Lao Lin and I have been friends for many years. Yi Gui's face changed, and he looked at Zhu Huolin with some doubt. Zhu Huolin's attack just now was indeed a bit sloppy. When he recalled it, there were doubts everywhere. Zhu Huolin hurriedly said, don't talk nonsense, I didn't cooperate with King Keong. Because Bai Pu was the target of King Keong and Gufan's joint attack just now, he was the most trusted by Zhu Huolin and Yege. He said lightly, Senior Yege, don't be suspicious. If Lord King Keong has joined forces with Gufan and Zhu Huolin and has the upper hand, is there any need to be mysterious here? Can't we just do it directly? Yege calmed down, nodded and said, that makes sense. Zhu Huolin, Gangsun, you two go deal with King Keong, and I will deal with Gufan. After getting rid of this unstable factor, we will besiege King Keong. King Keong laughed loudly, you wish. He clapped his hands together, and a strong breath swept across the sky, forcing Yege to have difficulty breathing. Then the Phoenix Wind-gilded halberd drew a huge stream of aura, like a waterfall crashing down. Zhu Huolin put his hands together, and a flexible wind surged, changing the slight angle of the key. Dancing wind returns, Zhu Wu Piao King's leaves. A slight error can lead to a great error. The slight change in angle caused the slash to deviate from the wild ghost by half a body length. The wild ghost turned around, and in the form of 2 heads and 4 arms, the ghost fog erupted again. Rows of ghosts wearing mottled iron armor lined up and shot at Gufan. Gufan turned into purple lightning and turned several times in the air to avoid the arrows. The secret skill of thunder, 9 rings thunder movement. While moving at high speed, Gufan can also draw his bow and shoot back. The lightning bow fired a series of lightning arrows, and each lightning could shatter an armored ghost. But for every one shattered, 2 armored ghosts appeared again. The rain of arrows fired by the ghost army replaced accuracy with a large range and high quantity. Even though Gufan's body skills were superb, he was repeatedly shot. Of course, King Keong would not let the wild ghost have his way. With high agility, he rushed towards the wild ghost. The Phoenix Wind-gilded halberd transformed into thousands of sharp points, like a group of halberds piercing the sun. This is King Keong's 3-star skill that he practiced independently, group halberds piercing the sun, with triple ultimate special effects of level 4, level 7 and level 10, which is extremely powerful. Thousands of sharp points are wrapped in blazing flames, and it is difficult to tell which one is real and which one is fake. Gangbu broke through the air, and Bai Pu's figure whistled in, and the shotgun circled and drew, encircling most of the flames, and then raised his shield to meet. For a while, the sound of Duato was endless. At the same time, Bai Pu also unfolded the prismatic field, chose the earth attribute, and wrapped King Keong and Gufan in it. King Keong was fine, but Gufan's 9 rings thunder movement was restrained by the prismatic field, earth, and he could no longer sprint. Within 3 seconds, Gu was shot into Hedgehog by the Iron Armor Ghost Army. With a beeping sound, the figure of the Hedgehog Gu was like a transparent cicada shell shattered, and his figure appeared hundreds of meters away, looking at Bai Pu with lingering fear. The 10th level special effect of the 9 Rings Thunder Movement Body Technique, Empty Cicada, passive. When you are fatally injured, you will leave a cicada shell in the original place, and teleport yourself to any location within 500 meters, must be within the site mental power, and at the same time restore your own health to 100%, clearing all negative states. If Bai Pu performs transformation, he can bring Gu into the scope of the field again, but Qin Kaiong is not a vegetarian. He has 7 consecutive moves and outputs crazy to Bai Pu, forcing Bai Pu to use all his fighting spirit to protect himself. However, the wild ghost reacted quickly. Seeing that Gu life-saving skills were forced out, he became more confident. His figure suddenly turned into ghost fog, and he pounced on Gu. The ghost fog condensed into a huge skull face, and opened his mouth to let out a terrifying howl. Ghost Infant Mystery System, shock. Gufan's body flashed with light, and he used some method to release the control and escaped quickly. After tasting the bitterness of Bai Pu's prismatic field, he dared not approach Qin Kaiong to seek protection, and could only escape the battlefield with the help of the 9 Rings Thunder Movement. I'll be back soon. There was a strong confidence in the voice of Yege. The two of them, one fleeing and one chasing, had already gone far. Bai Pu and Ziyue Hulan both fought against Qin Kaiong. At this time, Qin Kaiong no longer had the power he had at the beginning, and he was much more cautious about the use of professional energy. After all, he was now 1 against 2, and could not trigger the disdain skill of the Phoenix Wind-Gilded Halberd, and the doubling recovery speed of professional energy was no longer available. How could there be mediocre masters who could make it to the finals of the Heavenly Man battle? Ziyue Hulan's Wu Fang Huliu mystery system repeatedly made Qin Kaiong's attacks deflected or weakened. Bai Pu took the opportunity to thrust his spear straight, and the collapse of the mountain mystery was launched one after another, and soon successfully hit Qin Kaiong and shattered his mystery shield skill. Gangson, your energy intensity is very wrong. Qin Kaiong started talking again, his face solemn. I have fought many spirit world lords. Your energy intensity has surpassed that of ordinary lords and reached the level of enhanced lords. Otherwise, it would be impossible to break through my body protection and hit my body. After these words came out, Zhu Hulan was also a little curious. Even the top awakeners, who get advanced cultivation methods in the professional plane, can only cultivate their professional energy to the level of enhanced heroes at most, close to the level of lords. I have never heard of any awakener who can reach the energy intensity of the lord level, let alone the enhanced lord. What is the concept of enhanced lord? That is Lu Bu in the Three Kingdoms world, Li Yuanba in the Sui and Tang world, Xiangyu in the Chu and Han world. It is a high difficulty world, the peak of conventional combat power. Even the top awakeners have to organize a team to have a chance to compete. Qin Kaiong's attacking movements did not stop, and he said leisurely, Lao Lin and I have been at the top of the Awaken for a long time. We have seen countless dark gold equipment, gold props, and various spiritual world wonders. However, I have only heard of one way to increase energy intensity, but I have never seen it. Chapter 606, Human Heart is Unpredictable. Qin Kaiong stared at Bai Pu with a burning gaze, and slowly uttered a sentence, that is a relic that surpasses the dark gold and gold names. Only a strong person with a king-level template can possibly drop it. Purple equipment. Qin Kaiong suddenly swung the Phoenix Wind-Gilded Halberd, bringing up a powerful orb to slash, repelling Bai Pu, and at the same time repelling Zhu Hulan, whose mind was swaying, to the side. But, in the world of awakeners, I have never heard of the appearance of king-level natives. I am very curious, where did your purple equipment come from, and how it can meet the equipment requirements of purple equipment and exert its power? Qin Kaiong shouted loudly, Gangson, I'm afraid you are the most hidden character in this battle between heaven and man, right? Bai Pu shook his head slightly, you are exaggerating a bit. My pistol is just an accessory. The current energy strength is about the same as that of the Lord. It is nonsense to say that it surpasses the Lord. What Qin Kaiong said just now must have been exaggerated. Bai Pu had to hold the complete version of the Doomsday Spear, with a 120-point attack strength bonus, before he could rival the Enhanced Lord. The current 70-point attack strength is definitely not comparable. However, Qin Kaiong's purpose was to make Zhu Hulan feel apprehensive, and such exaggeration was intentional. Haha, Lao Lin, even if you eliminate me, do you have the confidence to defeat Gangxin and get the title of Heavenly Man? King Qiong looked at Zhu Huilin. Zhu Huilin had not yet recovered from the shock of the king-level purple weapon, and just smiled bitterly and said, "You are really young and formidable. Well, I won't interfere in your fight." Zhu Huilin immediately chose to protect himself. In his eyes, King Qiong has a deep foundation and a golden relic. Gangxin has a shallow foundation but has a king-level purple outfit. Both are not easy to mess with, so it is better to wait for them to fight to a loss. Since Senior Zhu Huilin has no intention of taking action, I am too lazy to do it either. Senior King Qiong, do you want to go see your ally Gufan? Or do you want to fight me to the death here, under Senior Zhu Huilin's watch? Bai Pu said. Zhu Huilin's face changed slightly. He had hoped that Bai Pu and King Qiong would fight, but he forgot that he would sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Both of them had a layer of concerns, so how could they fight with all their strength? Zhu Huilin's Wufang Huliu secret system is first-class powerful for unloading force, dodging and other life-saving aspects. Whether it is Bai Pu or King Qiong, it will take more than a moment to take down this master who has practiced Wufang secret to the extreme. The battle was temporarily deadlocked. Bai Pu's words gave King Qiong a reason to retreat. He looked at Bai Pu deeply, turned around and shook his ice wings to leave. Bai Pu bowed to Zhu Huilin lightly, stepped on the gang step and sprinted out. Zhu Huilin hesitated a little, feeling like he had made the wrong choice. After being silent for a long time, he rode the wind and left. The sky mark became hot again. This time the duration of the mark was extended to 5 minutes. Bai Pu looked at the red dots around him and looked for the positions of other people. In addition to Bai Pu, there should be 4 red dots gathering, representing the positions of the other 4 people. To Bai Pu's surprise, he only saw 2 red dots gathering. One far and one near. There were 44 red dots near and 35 red dots far away. 44 is the number of sky marks of Gufan and Yi Gui superimposed. It seems that Yi Gui has killed Gufan and taken away his sky mark. Bai Pu clearly remembered that before the siege of King Qiong, Gufan had already obtained 37 sky marks, the highest in the field. Yi Gui only had 7. As for the other possibility, Yi Gui was killed by Gufan and took the sky mark, which was not high in Bai Pu's opinion. With a strong enemy sensing of the Iron Horn helmet, Bai Pu knew that Yi Gui's combat effectiveness was very strong, much stronger than Gufan. If Yi Gui was killed, it must have been with the help of King Qiong. The relationship between King Qiong and Gufan is obviously that King Qiong is the main one and Gufan is the deputy one. King Qiong's promise to Gufan to help him is just to make Gufan the first candidate, so the Heaven's Mark must be collected by King Qiong, and it is impossible for Gufan to get it. In this way, the possibility of King Qiong's participation in the battle can be ruled out. It seems that Yi Gui killed Gufan before King Qiong arrived. Another place where 35 Heaven's Marks gathered is intriguing. King Qiong should go to Zhu Huilin. Bai Pu shook his head, and he felt a little more disdain for Zhu Huilin, the central executive. Zhu Huilin made 2 mistakes. First, he was busy collecting Heaven's Mark. Bai Pu has been restraining himself and only holds 1 Heaven's Mark. He hides in the group of monsters with a Heaven's Mark. Every time the mark is burning, others cannot guess Bai Pu's location from the number of marks. For example, now there are 20 monsters in the field, carrying the Heaven's Mark. Bai Pu, who also carries a mark, is hiding among these 20 monsters. King Qiong has only a 1/20 chance of finding Bai Pu. Of course, the wild ghost seems to have special tracking methods, which is another story. The second mistake Zhu Huilin made was that he did not have a clear understanding of himself. Zhu Huilin's strength is neither strong nor weak. He has developed the secret of Wufeng to the extreme, has a very strong self-protection ability, and has a strong harassment ability. It's a bit lacking in a head-on confrontation. But if Zhu Huilin lowers his status and chooses a master who is expected to win the championship to assist him, there will be no problem in getting the qualification of the first candidate. Bai Pu actually wanted Zhu Huilin to assist him, so that he would have less pressure to deal with King Qiong. But Zhu Huilin's self-expectations were too high, and he was not satisfied with the role of an assistant. As a result, he was eliminated in the same batch as Gufan and could only get the 3rd or 4th candidate position, which was no breakthrough compared to the previous session. The scorching time of Dian Sihan has passed. Bai Pu stared at the sky in the east, which was the last location of the heavenly mark gathering point closest to him. There were 44 heavenly marks, which should be the wild ghost. Sure enough, in the midst of the black fog, the wild ghost floated over. Gang Zin, I have already killed Gu Fan. But Zui Hulin was also eliminated by Qing Kaiong. What's going on? You and Zui Hulin joined forces, but couldn't hold Qing Kaiong back. Bai Pu shook his head. Zui Hulin was unwilling to join forces and wanted to sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. I can't do it alone, so I can only leave first. The wild ghost spit and sneered. Zui Hulin has no self-knowledge and has a way to die. Let's not talk about his affairs. Gang Zin, there are only you, me and Qing Kaiong left in the field. Why don't we join forces and eliminate Qing Kaiong first? The final title of Heavenly Man, how about each of us relying on our own abilities? The wild ghost stretched out his hand to invite. But before Bai Pu could reply, the wild ghost suddenly snapped his fingers. An elongated skeleton phantom rushed over. Secret skill, shock. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 607 Three-Party Camp. Bai Pu's eyes were a little hazy, but no concrete illusion appeared, and he quickly returned to normal. The additional skill of Iron Horn Helmet of the Immortal King was triggered by the firm will, exempting the mental control of the skill of shock. Bai Pu came back to his senses from the trance and saw the black fog swirling around the wild ghost. One after another, iron-clad ghosts appeared and disappeared, with bows and arrows drawn, ready to attack. Bai Pu did not question anything. The title battle between heaven and man was full of intrigues and no one was worthy of absolute trust. Facing the attack of the wild ghost, Bai Pu raised his hand and returned a secret skill, suppression. This is a skill special effect derived from lasso strike. After Bai Pu's mountain collapse secret skill was cultivated to the mastery level, the secret skill he comprehended was the same as the wild ghost's, shock, which was remote mental control. In front of the wild ghost, the phantom of a mountain collapse appeared, and his mind was instantly captured. However, a flash of black light appeared, and the wild ghost broke free from the suppression control. Deep in his mind, a black round bead with 7 holes in a ghostly or radiated black light, absorbing the control for the wild ghost, and one of the holes also disappeared temporarily. Ghost Infant Secret System, Passive Skill, Nervous Ghost 7 Apertures. Nervous Ghost 7 Apertures, passive, absorbs a mind control effect for you, and slowly releases it in the next 49 seconds. Up to 7 mind control effects can be absorbed at the same time. The wild ghost survived this suppression, of course. The price was that in the next 49 seconds, a slight shadow of mountains would appear in his eyes, just like wearing a pair of dirty glasses, which was a bit uncomfortable, but it did not affect the battle. Bai Pu followed up with a lasso attack. Suppression was originally a special effect attached to the lasso attack, and could be used as an independent skill. When the suppression skill entered the 2-minute cooldown, Bai Pu could still use lasso strike, which also triggered the suppression effect. This was equivalent to having an extra mind control skill out of nowhere, which was of great significance. Of course, for the wild ghost, it was nothing more than Ninja Ghost 7 Apertures absorbing and sharing one more control, which had little impact. The colorful lasso suddenly hooked the wild ghost and dragged it with force. It is worth mentioning that the wild ghost strength value is actually 120 points, but Bai Pu's strength attribute is better, and the judgment value is 70 or 80 points higher than him, which is why he successfully dragged it. In mid-air, a jade pendant of the wild ghost flashed a blazing white light, and the restraints of the lasso attack broke inch by inch. This is the wild ghost using accessories to release physical control. A top awakener like the wild ghost has been at the peak for many years, so it is impossible for him to leave obvious shortcomings. To fight against mental control, he practiced the ultimate passive, Ninja Ghost 7 Apertures. To fight against physical control, he has a silver relic accessory, Liu Bei's portable jade pendant, and the attached rabbit escape skill is enough to remove it. The ironclad Ghost Shadow Army formation, rusty arrows like rain, shot at Bai Pu. Ghost Baby Ultimate System, Ghost Baby Army. Bai Pu snorted, and the shotgun in his right hand operated a prismatic demon fighting key, wind, and at the same time operated the secret of the Gangfeng, which rolled up several strong winds, shaking the incoming arrows into pieces, and the strong bows and crossbows shot by several leader-level iron-armored ghosts were blocked by Bai Pu's shield. While taking the arrows, Bai Pu stepped on the gang step and attacked at high speed. The wild ghost turned into a ghost, flashing in the ghost fog area as if teleporting, and even Bai Pu's prismatic field could not suppress him. The two sides fell into a stalemate and fought a war of attrition. Bai Pu was not panicked, because his prismatic demon fighting key was as high as 2,200 points, and the energy was even more powerful. Even if the wild ghost was a level 10 awakener, he might not be able to catch up with him. Besides, Bai Pu also had means such as iron wool knee pads, to reduce the loss of professional energy. However, the next sentence of the wild ghost made Bai Pu anxious. Wild ghost shouted, "King Qiong, I am sure that you are telling the truth. Gangxin does have the king-level purple weapon accessories, which is our biggest threat. My ghost doll army has entangled him, why don't you take action? Come on." King Qiong appeared, and the ghost mist on his body quietly dissipated. Bai Pu's heart sank, and his hidden worries became a reality. He had seen this ghost mist before. It was another secret skill of Wild Ghost, Ghost Curtain, which could block prying. What does this mean? It means that King Qiong and Wild Ghost have formed an offensive and defensive alliance. Most likely, King Qiong told Wild Ghost about the king-level purple weapon accessories, which made Wild Ghost feel terrified, so he agreed to come and test Bai Pu's depth. With Bai Pu's perception, he did not find King Qiong's existence, but through reasoning, he guessed that King Qiong might be hiding around, so he was always cautious when fighting Wild Ghost and did not directly launch a strong attack. Now, Bai Pu has to face the joint attack of King Qiong and Wild Ghost. It is conceivable that the pressure is great. He is already looking for a way out. Unexpectedly, Bai Pu heard King Qiong's voice. "Gang Xin, you restrict the actions of the Wild Ghost. I can get rid of him first. After the Wild Ghost is eliminated, you and I will fight to the death, how about it?" Bai Pu was slightly startled and looked up at the Wild Ghost. The Wild Ghost seemed to have not heard anything and continued to urge the Ghost Army to attack normally. It seems that King Qiong used some kind of sound transmission method. The top awakened ones should not be underestimated. The title battle of the Heavenly Man is not allowed to use any props. This kind of sound transmission is mostly King Qiong's own ability, perhaps some kind of profound skill. Why did King Qiong choose to attack the Wild Ghost first and enter the finals with Bai Pu? Is there any trick? Bai Pu thought quickly in his heart. From King Qiong's perspective, it is not surprising to make this choice. After all, Bai Pu has only awakened for 2 years. He is of the same generation as King Qiong's nephew Hao Tian. He had a fight a few months ago. Although his strength is stronger than Hao Tian, it is limited. The king-level purple weapon accessories should just be against the sky. From King Qiong's perspective, although Bai Pu is strong, he is controllable, like a clear spring. On the other hand, Yi Ji Yui, a monster of the same generation or even older than King Qiong, who came out of nowhere, is unfathomable in strength and has endless means, like a turbid deep pool. Naturally, King Qiong feels more daunted. There is no need to consider whether King Qiong is cheating. For now, he can only gamble. Bai Pu originally had many means of control, but he could only use them in the battle between heaven and man. For example, the large-scale spider web of the Dark Gold Shield and the ability to summon spider demons can only be used in ground battles. Bai Pu also has a trick, which is the instinct skill Activate Thorns of the Dark Gold Equipment, Pauldron of the Sufferer. But he doesn't want to use it at this time. If King Qiong sees that Bai Pu has a hidden trump card, he might have other ideas again. Therefore, after Bai Pu glanced at King Qiong and signaled with his eyes that he received, he waited for more than a minute before he used the lasso to attack Yi Ji Yui again. Chapter 608. Is this all the cards you have left? A colorful Daoki lasso hit the Wild Ghost from a distance. This time, the suppression effect of the lasso attack was still absorbed and resolved by the passive ultimate skill of the Wild Ghost, Ninja Ghost 7 Apertures. However, the physical drag effect of the lasso attack was still activated normally. The Wild Ghost Silver Relic, Liu Bei's portable jade pendant, with a control release skill Rabbit Escape has not yet recovered. After all, the Wild Ghost is a top awakener with rich means. When the lasso attack was launched, the Wild Ghost had already summoned 2 soul-catching ghosts holding iron chains and flails in advance. With a clattering sound of the iron chains, the two soul-catching ghosts locked the iron chains of torture in their hands around the waist of the wild ghost. When Bai Pu exerted force to drag, the two ghosts and the wild ghost himself exerted force at the same time. The colorful lasso and the iron chains of torture were stretched straight. After 2 seconds of stalemate, the judgment of the lasso attack ended, and the Daoki lasso was broken inch by inch. However, before the wild ghost could catch his breath, a blazing white light suddenly whizzed past, filling the entire field of vision. His body shook, and then he saw the scene of his headless body falling, and King Keong, who was shining with blazing white light and holding a phoenix-winged gilded halberd, looked at him with cold eyes. The rules of the competition were triggered, and the wild ghost's figure turned into white light and dissipated. As a bystander, Bai Pu witnessed the whole scene. In the 2 seconds of the stalemate between the fighting spirit lasso and the ghost iron chain, King Keong's body was full of blazing white light, and the whole person seemed to be a particle of light, merging with a phoenix-winged gilded halberd in his hand. A blazing white, sharp arrow pointed directly at the wild ghost, and before he could catch his breath, it cut off his head. The wild ghost's damage-reducing ghost fog and body shield were all broken with one blow. Just this one blow revealed King Keong's strength. He is worthy of being one of the strong men standing at the top of the awakened people on Earth. Even without the bonus of the title of Heavenly Man, the attack power is still strong and overbearing, making it impossible to resist. However, Bai Pu was not scared. He noticed that King Keong's move was limited. It took more than a second to prepare before he turned into a light particle and merged with his weapon, the phoenix-winged gilded halberd. I think this move is very useful when used to deal with the strong natives of the spiritual world and when the team besieges the Lord. It can play a decisive role in the killing stage. But in a one-on-one duel, Bai Pu will not give King Keong time to prepare, unless King Keong has a control skill with a priority of more than 9 points. This move of body and weapon integration is a new move of my breaking edge secret. How powerful is it? King Keong watched the wild ghost turn into light and disappear, stretched out his hand to pick up the dozens of heaven's marks, and looked at Bai Pu calmly. With the power of killing the peak strongman wild ghost, this question seems to be light and indifferent, but it is particularly shocking. Bai Pu thought for a moment and said, "It's a good move." After a pause, Bai Pu said, "It's very useful to hit the wooden stakes." Haha, Gangson, it seems that you are still very unconvinced and want to compete with me. At this time, only King Keong and Bai Pu were left in the field. King Keong probably felt that he had won the game, so his attitude became much more casual. In fact, you are very lucky to have come this far. The achievement of the first candidate for the Heavenly Man is enough for you to compete for the first place among the younger generation. Think of Zuhul and Anguthan, none of them are weaker than you, and Yeg is even stronger than you. In the end, you got the first place, so you should be satisfied. Looking at King Keong talking freely, Bai Pu smiled. In fact, Bai Pu also felt that he had won the game. Senior King Keong, since you think the title of the first candidate for the Heavenly Man is good, then I will give it to you. Humph, you are stubborn. King Keong snorted coldly, spread his icy wings behind him, and suddenly flew in front of Bai Pu. The phoenix-winged gilded halberd whistled and chopped down on his head. Bai Pu raised his shield to block, but the first blow made Bai Pu's body tremble. King Keong's strength judgment value has increased by at least 30 points. Although he has not surpassed Bai Pu, a strength expert, the gap is already very small. Every time Bai Pu parries, he no longer has the feeling of ease before. The strong recoil force has greatly reduced the speed of Bai Pu's shield turnover. However, King Keong can still rely on his super high agility and superb combat expertise to frequently borrow strength, while maintaining a strong attack power and bursting out an extremely fast attack speed. Bai Pu's pressure is much greater than when the 4 people besieged King Keong. Bai Pu even felt that King Keong's long-handled weapon expertise has crossed the limit of level 10 and reached level 11 and 12. Because Bai Pu had reached this theoretical level before, he was aware of it. Swish. Swish. Bai Pu's shield couldn't turn around, and he was shot continuously. He could only try his best to mobilize the shield for defense. Overwhelming. After King Keong made a large enough flaw with many ordinary attacks, he suddenly shouted, and the phoenix-winged gilded halberd was like a mountain falling on his head. Bai Pu didn't have time to adjust his shield to the best angle, so he could only raise his shotgun to parry. With a loud clang, Bai Pu fell diagonally. The dark gold tower shield was cut in two. The volcanic shield was shattered. The magic sand's flying disc was temporarily broken. There was a momentary stiffness in the fighting spirit's circulation, and the gangbu could not be maintained temporarily. After falling for more than 10 feet, Bai Pu regained control of his fighting spirit and stopped in the air. King Qiang looked down at Bai Pu and said proudly, "Gangsun, I was besieged by the four of you before, and I couldn't deal with you with all my strength. You don't think I really can't do anything to you, do you? I have an ultimate passive skill that can improve strength, judgment and attack power. The Yang family spearmanship, combined with my ultimate system, can break through the 10-level expertise limit. Now your shield is damaged and the shield skill is on cooldown. What can you use to resist my attack? Don't think that just because you are MT, a heavy armor will be useful. My ultimate skill of breaking extreme weapon blade can sacrifice part of the durability of the weapon and temporarily gain high armor penetration. No matter how strong the Tinkan is, it is no different from paper in front of me." As he spoke, King Qiang displayed the information of Broken Extreme Weapon. Broken Extreme Weapon, Secret Skill. Activate the Broken Extreme Weapon, continuously consume the durability of the weapon, and gain 40-75 points of armor penetration. The higher the grade of the weapon, the higher the armor penetration points obtained. Obviously, King Qiang was not willing to use the skill of Broken Extreme Weapon, mainly because the Phoenix Wind Gilded Halberd was not easy to repair. Whether it was dark gold equipment or golden relics, if you wanted to repair them, you had to find a top-level forging profession, and some even needed to go to the spirit world to find professionals to do a series of tedious tasks. So King Qiang started to talk and tried to persuade him to surrender. Bai Pu sighed, raised his head, and his eyes were unusually bright. "Senior King Qiang, is this all you have left?" Chapter 609. Let's reveal the next card. "What do you mean?" King Qiang frowned. He could tell that Bai Pu was not scared by him. This meant that Bai Pu must have a trump card that was not afraid of him. Damn it, could it be that Steelheart, who had just awakened 2 years ago, was hiding so deeply? In such a fierce battlefield between heaven and man, facing the unfathomable wild ghosts, was he hiding his strength? Bai Pu certainly had a hidden trump card, and more than one. Apart from anything else, the secret of breaking extreme weapon blade alone could give King Qiang 75 points of armor penetration, which looked really scary. Generally, top awakeners, non-tank type, wear light armor, and the overall armor value is more than 100 points, which is already very impressive. King Qiang's secret skill broke more than half of it, and with his high attack and high speed, it is definitely a nightmare for squishy skin. But Bai Pu is different. He is a heavy tank, harder than ordinary tanks. Bai Pu's Skin of Steel skill alone, now trained to level 8, 7+1, has provided 131 points of natural armor value, and 66 points of fixed physical damage reduction. That is, the two damage reduction skills, Skin of Steel, and Molten Gold Armor, cannot be stacked. If they can be activated at the same time, King Qiang's damage will be further weakened and absorbed, and even Bai Pu's defense will be difficult to break. Of course, Bai Pu must first solve a problem, that is, King Qiang's terrifying speed advantage brought by more than 200 points of agility, attack speed, movement speed. The strongest state, activated. Pure Blood Blessing plus Gene Fragments, Agility Long-Handled Weapon Strong, Blessing, to achieve the equipment conditions of the complete version of the King-level purple weapon, dual-wielding state. With his left hand on his waist, Bai Pu took out a Savior hand guard. While dual-wielding, Doomsday Blade, and Savior, the agility bonus of the two equipments took effect simultaneously, providing Bai Pu with a total of 60 points of agility. Bai Pu's agility attribute has been climbing all the way and breaking through the 180-point mark. Although there is still a gap of 20 to 30 points of agility value with King Qiang, the gap has been greatly narrowed compared to Xiaonin, whose attack speed was less than half of the opponent before. Fortunately, although the Dark Gold Tower shield was broken, the spirit of the Demon Spider Girl was loyal, and it still provided Bai Pu with attribute bonuses, allowing Bai Pu to meet the equipment conditions for the full King-level purple weapon. Bai Pu rushed forward in turn and started to attack Qing Kaiong. Qing Kaiong's eyes widened as soon as they fought. He couldn't believe that the steel heart that was as slow as a turtle just now was now as fast as if he had epilepsy. It was just like a tractor on the highway, and it was as outrageous as a supercar. It was outrageous. Damn, you not only have the accessories of the King-level purple weapon, you have a complete King-level purple weapon. and you can use it freely. The last sentence was the most shocking and incomprehensible doubt for Qin Kaiong. The equipment requirements for the king-level purple weapon must be extremely demanding. And as far as Qin Kaiong knows, the equipment of the king-level purple weapon, which should not appear in the awakened world, is probably called by the spirit, and there is almost no possibility of the spirit recognizing the master. This means that Steelheart is driving this extraordinary weapon with solid basic attributes. The two fought quickly, and exchanged 7 moves in an instant. The clanging sound of weapons colliding almost formed a line, like a long tremolo. Qin Kaiong was more and more frightened as he fought. He found that his Yang family spearmanship, which he was proud of, and his long-handled weapon expertise that broke through the 10th level, had no advantage in front of Bai Pu. This means that the opponent's combat expertise has also broken through the limit and reached the 11th or even 12th level. Why? This is a newcomer who has just awakened for 2 years. In terms of age, he is not even as good as his nephew Haoshin. Thinking back to the combat expertise that he had to practice hard for decades to have, Qin Kaiong was almost broken. If I had known that this kid was hiding so deeply, I should have taken advantage of him being entangled by wild ghosts and solved him first. If it were an ordinary person, he would definitely be confused and his level would drop sharply. But Qin Kaiong is the head of Xianfu after all, a celestial being from the previous generation, and his mentality is far beyond the reach of ordinary people. After the initial astonishment and regret, Qin Kaiong quickly figured out his own advantages: aerial combat skills. I also have the mysterious ice wings, which make air combat more flexible and not much different from ground combat. Gangxin only relies on that weird sandbox and the skill of sprinting in the air. He is far inferior to me in dodging and moving. After all, I have 20 years of experience in air combat and flying, which Gangxin can never compare to. Qin Kaiong thought of this and quickly flapped his wings, rushing left and right. After a fake move, Qin Kaiong changed direction abruptly, and seeing that Bai Pu's handguard was blocking in the wrong direction, Qin Kaiong swung the Phoenix Wing-gilded halberd horizontally, leaving a white mark on Bai Pu's chest. 72. Although the damage was so low that Qin Kaiong couldn't bear to look directly at it, it was a good start after all. I'll grind you to death. Qin Kaiong snorted, and continued to take advantage of his flexibility, attacking Bai Pu continuously, with a sense of being elusive. Although Bai Pu's prismatic field was activated, Qin Kaiong relied on his high speed brought by his own high agility, and did not use any acceleration sprinting skills, so he was naturally not within the restrictions of the prismatic field. Bai Pu did feel the difficulty of air combat. He originally thought that relying on the magic sand and Gangbu would be enough to deal with air combat, but when fighting with top air combat masters, he still had deep limitations. To put it in an analogy, Bai Pu was like standing on a steep cliff, fighting a birdman born with wings. Every step of Bai Pu's Gangbu sprint, or the magic sand lift, was traceable, and he could not exceed the trajectory of the two. Qin Kaiong can fly freely, change his position, and repeatedly launch attacks from Bai Pu's weak side, naturally taking advantage. As expected of a peak powerhouse, he can seize and expand rapidly even the slightest advantage. Bai Pu's side, in that case, let's reveal the next card. Patrol of the victim, activate thorns, activate. Activate thorns is an instinctive skill with no cooldown limit, but the cost is to absorb Bai Pu's blood, that is, a certain amount of health loss. Specifically, 10 health points are consumed in the first second, 20 points in the second, 30 points in the third second, and so on. The longer the time, the higher the loss. You need to leave the combat state, and the superimposed loss will be reset. Now the victim's shoulder armor has been strengthened to +7. Among them, the +4 special effect is blood diversion. When the activated thorns exist, 50% of the required blood will flow back to the wearer's body. The +7 special effect is pain sucking. Pain sucking, the damage caused by the activated thorns to the target enemy will be fed back to the wearer in equal amounts, resulting in a 100% healing effect. Bai Pu's shoulders, the thorns on the victim's shoulder armor seem to come alive, extending a series of illusory thorn chains, binding Qin Kaiong. Qin Kaiong felt a tingling pain around him, as if he was in a thorn bush. If you don't move, you won't get hurt. But once you move, your skin will feel a tearing pain, and the faster you move, the more painful it will be. Chapter 610, Counterattack. Bai Pu stabbed at him with a gun, and Qin Kaiong instinctively shook his ice wings and dodged to the side. The transparent thorn spikes instantly pierced into his skin, and he could even see the phantom of blood flowing. You are affected by revitalized thorns. Based on your movement speed, you lose 280 health points. This health loss is not reduced by any damage reduction skills with a priority not exceeding 10, nor is it absorbed by any shield skills with a priority not exceeding 10. Shit. Qing Kai cursed inwardly. He might as well stay where he is and try to parry Bai Pu's attack. Once the parry is successful, the rebound damage is nothing at all. It is much better than the current 280 health loss. The loss of life is secondary. The most important thing is the tearing pain, which is like piercing the soul. Qing Kai was disturbed and his mind was in a trance. He failed to block Bai Pu's second attack and was stabbed in the shoulder by the pistol. The shield was broken, and a blood mark was left on the shoulder. A chain reaction occurred. After Qing Kai was hit by the second shot, he staggered and his footing became unstable, exposing a bigger flaw. He kicked back and tried to take advantage of the situation to regroup. This was originally a trick to win from a loss, but Bai Pu's left-handed cane moved horizontally. Block. Bai Pu saw through Qing Kai's intention. He didn't add too much force to this attack, but used soft force. Qing Kai felt like he kicked a dead branch, which was coated with glue and had a sticky force. He couldn't escape Bai Pu's next pistol chase after him. Puff. The pistol pierced the flesh, and the blood surged. The last breath was superimposed to 2 layers, and the wall of despair was superimposed to 1 layer. Bai Pu, who gained 6 points of attack speed and 3 points of fixed damage reduction, shot again. The tip of the gun was wrapped in the phantom of a mountain collapse, and 3 sharp fighting spirits were looming. 3-way World 7 special effects. Collapse of the nation. Make your skill divide the world into 3 parts. Have the special effect of collapse of the mountain. Stab damage, second stage throw damage, and aftershock range damage will completely damage the enemy's shield skills with a priority of no more than 9 points, and cause damage to the equipment in the relevant parts. At this time, Qing Kai had completely lost his first-hand advantage, and his body lost balance, and he was completely unable to dodge. However, Qing Kai's eyes did not show too much panic. On his body, a layer of dark golden light flowed, and quickly stretched behind him, forming a soul phantom that was exactly the same as Qing Kai himself. The tip of the spear entered his body, and 3 sharp fighting spirits invaded, but were guided to the soul phantom. Crack, the soul phantom shattered like glass, and took the blow instead of a Qing Kai. 4603. The terrifying damage number made Qing Kai's eyes jump. Fortunately, my equipment is luxurious enough. This dark gold ornament, soul stone of the faceless, saved my life. Now, it's time to fight back. Qing Kai's eyes flashed fiercely. Taking advantage of the moment when Bai Pu was stiff after launching the ultimate skill, the phoenix wing-gilded halberd shook, and dozens of gunflowers gathered in front of Bai Pu. The phoenix wings on both sides of the front played an excellent interference role, making it difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. The third skill added by Phoenix Wing-Gilded Halberd is the 3 fatal moves. Ding 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 ding. Dozens of metal and iron clashing sounds rang out, and dozens of white marks appeared on the steel skin of Bai Pu's body, and a series of single-digit damage numbers appeared. Qing Kai was not discouraged. The first move of the 3 fatal moves, Phoenix Nodding, only played a preemptive role. Although the damage was not high, Bai Pu, who had been hit by this move, was no longer able to dodge and parry the subsequent second attack. The second move, Go Straight to Huanglong. With a loud phoenix cry, the phoenix winged gilded halberd pierced into Bai Pu's chest like a phoenix's long beak. Immediately following was the third move of the 3 fatal moves, which was also the most lethal and powerful move, Shattering the Heaven and Earth. The premise of this move is that the direct attack can penetrate the opponent's body, and then use explosive force to shatter the opponent's body, causing an explosion output of 300% ignoring armor. Boom. With a loud bang, Bai Pu's body flew apart. It's over. Qing Kai sighed, feeling very proud. Although this battle between heaven and man had some twists and turns, the final result was that I won the championship and defended the title of heaven and man. Xianfu is still the top force in China. Those people in the organization who complained because I forcibly expropriated resources in exchange for Phoenix Winged Gilded Halberd can only be patient and continue to curry favor with me. Because I, Qing Kai, am still one of the strongest in the whole of China and even in the world. Qing Kai thought a lot in an instant, until he saw the billowing smoke and dust in front of him, He realized something was wrong. Bai Pu was hit by my critical attack that ignored armor, and he should have been killed instantly. Where is Bai Guang? He was supposed to turn into light and leave, so how come there is billowing smoke and yellow sand in front of me? King Qiong felt something was wrong, looked down, and found that the activated thorns bound around him had not disappeared either. Bai Pu is not dead? When King Qiong realized this, a huge Daoqi arrow had already come from the rolling yellow sand, attacking from a distance. The tip of the Daoqi arrow was the sharp tip of the Doomsday Edge. Swish, King Qiong took a solid blow. You have suffered 1,408 points of mixed damage. Your passive secret, body and weapon integration takes effect, converting 50% of the damage suffered into equipment durability loss. The durability of your equipment, bone wing leg armor is reset to 0 and completely destroyed. You have lost 704 health points. With a crisp sound, his leg armor shattered into pieces, and disappeared into King Qiong's storage space. King Qiong groaned. He could feel the crumbling artistic conception of the tip of the Doomsday Spear. If it weren't for the body and weapon integration to share the damage, he would have been killed instantly by Steelheart's collapse of the mountain secret. King Qiong endured the pain and hit Bai Pu with a backhand, but was blocked by the cane again. By now, both of them had almost played their cards. Although Bai Pu still had a backhand, he didn't need to use it. He and King Qiong fought fast and fast, constantly fighting in the air. Bai Pu had already stacked 3 or 4 layers of final breath at this time, with 181 points of agility and various special effects that increased attack speed. He had increased his attack speed to more than 200. King Qiong was injured, lost in equipment, and his attributes also decreased. With this increase and decrease, the speed of the two people's attacks was surprisingly similar. Bai Pu's weakness is that he lacks the blessing of dual-wielding expertise. His left and right hands fight independently, and his skills are still not as good as King Qiong. But Bai Pu is good at playing to his strengths. His tankiness is much stronger than King Qiong. Prismatic Field reduces King Qiong's speed and limits his sprint skills. Activate Thorns to limit King Qiong's flexible change of direction. Attack and exchange injuries, forcing King Qiong to fight with him for health loss. Long-term entanglement is good for Bai Pu. In the dual-wielding state, the passive layers of his weapons are constantly climbing. The final breath increases the speed of attack by 3 points per layer, and the more you fight, the faster you fight. The Wall of Despair increases the fixed damage reduction by 3 points per layer, and the harder you fight, the harder you fight. King Qiong is more and more frustrated. He has never seen such a rogue Shinran player. In the end, King Qiong played all his cards, but he still couldn't pose a threat to Bai Pu. After all, this previous Shinran was unwilling to be killed by the younger generation. Knowing that he had no hope of winning, King Qiong turned into light and left, choosing to admit defeat. I won't fight anymore, I won't fight anymore, your fighting style makes me sick. I'll give you the title of Heavenly Man, but I don't want it anymore, okay? Chapter 611 A New Era. Seeing the blue sky turn into light and disappear, Bai Pu put away the 79 heavenly marks he left behind, and there was still a feeling of unfulfilled desire in his heart. His 2 major states, Final Breath and Wall of Despair, have been superimposed to 10 layers, currently giving Bai Pu 30 points of additional attack speed and 30 points of fixed damage reduction. This feeling of getting stronger and stronger is really intoxicating. The battle is over, and the blessing state recedes like a tide. Bai Pu received a prompt message from the will of the spirit world. All other contestants in the Heavenly Man title finals have been eliminated. Please collect the remaining 20 heavenly marks as soon as possible to obtain the Heavenly Man certificate. In the following time, the heavenly mark will remain in a burning state, always locating the coordinates of the remaining heavenly marks for you. Bai Pu now has 80 heavenly marks. As he thought at the beginning, there are 100 heavenly marks in total. Whether you collect 1 or 99, it is actually the same, and you still have to fight in the end. At the moment, Bai Pu stepped on the magic sand's flying disc, cruised in the cataclysm abyss, constantly killed monsters, and seized the heaven's mark. This process is relatively dull. Although the monsters in the cataclysm abyss are very powerful and are a difficult challenge for ordinary awakeners, they are still not comparable to the top awakeners. Earth, official live broadcast room. The entire process of the battle between heaven and man was broadcast live, and various guests and commentators were reviewing the game. This link is very necessary, because the battle of the top awakeners is too fast, especially the fake moves and feints in the explosive state, which are faster than the visual limit of ordinary people. At this moment, the slow motion function is used to review the game, which can maximize the audience's understanding of the process of the battle just now, and what kind of intrigue is contained in each step. This time, the official live broadcast room specially invited the owner of the title of God's Throne, Fu Tu. Fu Tu is a middle-aged man of ordinary build. At this time, he is wearing a phantom suit. He can't see anything extraordinary. Only his eyes are very sharp, as if he hides two gun tips. At this moment, a commentator asked Fu Tu for advice. "Master Fu Tu, we saw the replay just now. Master King Qiong stabbed Steel hurt. Master's 3 unique skills are obviously very powerful, but why is Master Steel not hurt at all?" Another commentator nodded and said, "Yes, Master Steel shield skill is still cooling down, and Master King Qiong's last attack obviously has the special effect of ignoring armor. Theoretically, more than 3,000 points of damage, isn't it enough to kill Master Steel in 1 second? Fu Tu's face was rigid and serious, and he said seriously, "It shouldn't be enough. Steelheart's health is more than 8,000, and he has a strong talent for reducing damage. King Qiong's attack on Steelheart only caused 1,000 or 2,000 actual damage at most." "I see. But even so, Master Steelheart should have been injured. Why does he look fine and can quickly counterattack?" Fu Tu froze the replay at the moment when King Qiong finished his move. The billowing smoke and yellow sand obscured the view. The next second, the yellow sand dispersed, and Bai Pu's figure appeared. "I didn't see it clearly because I didn't go to the battlefield in person. Look, there are some fine cracks on Steelheart's chest where he was hit." Fu Tu touched his chin and said, "Steelheart's skill of manipulating sand is very special. He should have used sand to form a set of mimic skin of sand armor. This layer of sand armor is Steelheart's last line of defense. In comparison, the volcano shield is just a superficial defense." Fu Tu narrowed his eyes. He could even imagine the scene at that time. King Qiong's straight to the yellow dragon pierced Gangxin's heart. He thought it had penetrated, but in fact it only pierced the skin that was transformed by Gangxin's sand armor. The subsequent Shake the Universe only completely shattered this layer of sand armor. That's why there were rolling yellow sand and thick smoke. Gangxin's body was only damaged by some shock waves of the Ganki. With Gangxin's tankiness, this amount of damage is naturally not worth mentioning. Thinking of this, Fu Tu couldn't help but look at another guest in the live broadcast room. "Wu Ding, you have an opponent. I remember the Gangxin also participated in the King of Strength battle. With his strength, he must be the favorite for the title of King of Strength. The awakener named Wu Ding is dark and thin, but looks extremely strong. The muscles on his forearms are like steel bars twisted together. Wu Ding is one of the candidates for the title of King of Strength." He smiled when he heard this. "What does it have to do with me? If I have a headache, it's a headache caused by warm wine." When Jiu is the holder of the title of King of Power and is not on the live broadcast room at the moment. At this time, the commentators finally reviewed most of the details of the battle. More details of this battle between heaven and man are destined to circulate on the internet. It contains a lot of specious speculations. The skills, special effects, and even the extremely mysterious combat expertise and mysteries of the top awakeners will be a topic that many high-level awakeners will study seriously. The live broadcast screen changed, and Bai Pu had collected the remaining Heaven's Mark seals. A grand voice sounded, "The Heavenly Man's certificate has been generated, and the only holder at present is Gangxin, the winner of this Heavenly Man title. Gangxin, the first candidate, Qing Qiong, the second candidate, Yi Ji Yui, the third candidate, Ziyu Hulin, the fourth candidate, Gu Fan. The battle for the Heavenly Man title ends here." After the grand voice, the live broadcast of the spirit world screen was also cut off, and the will of the spirit world stopped the transmission of the spirit particle signal. The people in the live broadcast room switched to the post-production victory settlement screen very experiencedly. Bai Pu's makeup photo and Shinran crown also appeared on the big screen. Bai Pu in the picture has a handsome face and full of heroic spirit. Under the slanting sunlight, he exudes a refreshing and handsome youth. Master Gangxin is not even 19 years old. This definitely breaks the record for the youngest winner of the Shinran title. I remember that the youngest Shinran before, Duanchili, was already 24 years old when he first won the Shinran title. Not only Shinran, other top titles, even foreign top titles, rarely have winners under the age of 20. I've never had this feeling before, as if I'm witnessing history. People were talking as if they saw the beginning of a new era. But Bai Pu, who had returned from the spirit world, did not pay attention to these. He looked at the ancient clay tablet engraved with mysterious words that suddenly appeared in his hand and fell into deep thought. You have obtained the item, dim divine script. You need to charge it and turn it into a real divine script before you can use it and open the third level of your talent tree. Where did this divine script come from? Chapter 612, Heavenly Title. Bai Pu thought about it and thought of a possibility. The location of this battle between heaven and man is in the world of flesh and blood plague, the high-level plane that has not yet taken shape, the Falling Star Islands. The dim divine text clay tablet that Bai Pu got from Emperor Gustav last time was actually what Emperor Gustav accidentally got in the Falling Star Islands. This battle between heaven and man is nominally to collect Heaven's Mark, but Bai Pu knows very well that the so-called Heaven's Mark is actually the rune. The Heaven's Certificate, composed of 100 Heaven's marks, is estimated to have become a similar existence to the rune clay tablet, and the rank is higher. After all, this is a divine text composed of 100 rune words collected from the central area of the Falling Star Islands, the Eye of the Cataclysm. In the end, the Heaven's Certificate was awarded to Bai Pu as a prize, which happened to help Bai Pu open the third-level talent tree of the Heart of Evolution. Bai Pu smelled a strange smell. It was as if Gaizwell deliberately sent the third-level divine text to himself. Otherwise, why did the battlefield of the battle between heaven and man happen to choose the Eye of the Cataclysm? Why is the combination of the words in the Heavenly Man's Certificate exactly the rune? There is a sense of appointment in it. Bai Pu does not think that he has received preferential treatment because of his golden rank. Gaizwell is not like a god who has a preference for the voters below. He is more like a supreme program, without emotion, and treats everything equally, just like God. The privileges of the golden rank are clearly marked, including privileges and intelligence. The Gaia seal that proves the identity of the seed player can protect officers of the golden rank from direct attacks by gods and gods. In addition, the awakened of the golden rank still needs to fight and take risks on their own to obtain resources from the spirit world to grow. The will of the spirit world will not force growth, and directly bestow rare equipment, props and other items like the blessing of the gods. At this time point, why did Gaizwell so actively give himself the divine text that opens the third level of talent? Another thing that makes Bai Pu curious is what changes will happen if it is not him, but someone else who gets the Heavenly Man's Certificate? Could it be related to the war in the spirit world? There are too few known clues and too many possibilities. Bai Pu is unwilling to waste too much brain cells. Anyway, it will take some time to water the divine clay tablet and charge it, so just keep it for the time being. Bai Pu fed the dim divine clay tablet a drop of pure blood and then put it away. He then began to check the title of Heavenly Man that he had worked hard to obtain. Heavenly Man, title, peak title, comma, passive effect of Heavenly Man title, transformation. Every time you kill a strong enemy, you will gain 1 to 10 Heavenly Man attribute points, depending on the strength of the strong enemy compared to you. You can add or delete Heavenly Man attribute points to your 4 surrounding attributes at will. When you lose the title of Heavenly Man, all Heavenly Man attribute points will be cleared. Comma, active effect of Heavenly Man title, Heavenly Man arrives, shedding the mundane, revealing the true body of the Heavenly Man. The Heavenly Man attribute points you have are doubled, and all flying abilities, including but not limited to jumping, mimicking wings, and gravity skills, are not consumed when used for flying. Comma, obviously, the title of Heavenly Man is a title of growth. Bai Pu looked up the definition of strong enemy. The so-called strong enemy is compared with Bai Pu's comprehensive attributes, which cannot be lower than 80% of Bai Pu's overall attributes. As long as it meets the strong enemy standard, Bai Pu can obtain heavenly attribute points by killing it. In theory, there is no upper limit to the heavenly attribute points. If Bai Pu can kill hundreds of strong enemies a day, he can get hundreds or even thousands of heavenly attribute points, directly transform into Ultraman, and crush everything. But this is obviously impossible. In terms of Bai Pu's overall attributes at this time, the strong enemy must be at least an enhanced warrior of level 8 or 9, or a lord of level 7 or above. How many such enemies can you encounter? The most important thing is that the heavenly attribute points are also counted in Bai Pu's comprehensive attributes. The more heavenly attribute points Bai Pu gets, the higher his comprehensive attributes are, and the higher the certification standard of the strong enemy is. Later, I am afraid that it will take a level 10 enhanced warrior or a level 8 or 9 lord to meet the standard. It is definitely unrealistic to want to meet such a strong enemy every day. Moreover, even if he encounters such a strong enemy, regardless of how strong he is, he must have his own means of survival, and he may not be able to kill him. There is also a hard time limit. The title of Heavenly Man is not permanent. It will be temporarily revoked in the Heavenly Man War 3 years later. At that time, even if Bai Pu defends the title of Heavenly Man, his previous Heavenly Man attribute points will be reset to 0, and he will have to start accumulating again. It seems that I need to open up the advanced spiritual world and arrange a large number of source blood apostles and pure blood slaves to conduct preliminary exploration and development to save me time. Once the time is right, use the source master to descend and summon me to kill the strong enemy. This is Bai Pu's biggest advantage over previous Heavenly Man. It can save time and energy to familiarize and explore the world in the early stage, and directly confront the enemy lord. Just like the world of Heavenly Hero, the Jinkang incident, and the world of Original Sin, what Qin and Bonnie did for him. It's just that Qin is still in the intermediate spiritual world. It's time for her to be promoted to the advanced level and explore the advanced spiritual world. Horizontal ellipsis. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. At the junction of Yunzhong, in Bai Pu's training ground. Bai Pu was sitting in meditation. On the surface, he was as calm as a lake, but his mental space was like thunder. He was holding a purple weapon and fighting with many simulated powerful enemies, gaining several times the growth rate of expertise and mysteries. Suddenly, Bai Pu opened his eyes. His spirit was a little tired, and his training came to a temporary end. It's time to study Taoist alchemy. Bai Pu arranged his schedule very tightly. He habitually glanced at his personal watch and saw a message from Li Ling. Bai Pu clicked it. Li Ling's virtual image appeared and said, "Gang Xin, Leader Qiao is waiting for you in the living room. Come over when you finish your training." Leader Qiao? Waiting for me? Bai Pu felt a little different, due to the change in his status. Even Leader Qiao, the #1 boss in Jiangnan, was willing to condescend to wait for him. This was really unimaginable in the past. However, at this moment, Bai Pu did not feel that his status was higher than Leader Qiao. His obtaining of the title of Heavenly Man certainly proved that his strength had reached the peak, but Leader Qiao's many years of connections and strong background power were beyond Bai Pu's reach. Bai Pu replied with a message, "I have finished my training and will be here soon." He left the alchemy room, walked to the bathtub, and soaked in the spiritual liquid. The spiritual liquid can not only repair the hidden injuries of the body, but also nourish Bai Pu's mind and accelerate the recovery of his spiritual strength. After soaking for more than 10 minutes, Bai Pu opened his eyes and became energetic again. He took a shower, transformed into a casual outfit, and strode towards the living room. Chapter 613, the 10th sequence. "Gangson, you are really surprising." As soon as Bai Pu entered the reception room, he heard the hearty laughter of Leader Qiao. Leader Qiao stood up and said, "Old Nai, and I thought that you signed up for the peak title to accumulate some experience and see the gap between yourself and the peak strong. I never expected that your personal strength has reached this level and you directly won the title of Heavenly Man. Part of it is luck." Bai Pu was telling the truth. His age and qualifications are also a kind of protective color in the Heavenly Man battle. Before the game, various media outlets exaggerated Bai Pu's strength through the process of the Heavenly Man qualifying battle, and there were even some people who wanted to make Bai Pu the biggest favorite to win the championship. But when it came to the finals, King Qiong, Yegi and others still didn't really take Bai Pu seriously. Yegi initially recruited the others to deal with King Qiong together. Even later, when the secret of the king-level purple weapon accessories was discovered by King Qiong's sneak attack target was still Yegi, not Bai Pu, when the three powers were in a tripod. Of course there is luck, but without sufficient strength, you can't seize the opportunity. Leader Qiao admired Bai Pu's humility, but he also knew that luck might be important in the melee stage of the battle between heaven and man. But in the end, when Bai Pu and King Qiong fought a decisive battle, there was no luck involved. Bai Pu smiled and said, "The leader came to see me in person. Is there anything you want to tell me? Don't be so polite. I just have 2 things to talk to you about." Leader Qiao was very kind. After all, Bai Pu's title of Heaven and Man at this time, as well as his official background, meant that Bai Pu's official status would not be lower than his own. After the two sat down, Leader Kiao started to get to the point. Gangson, I heard that you have a king-level purple equipment, and it's a complete version. Leader Kiao asked seriously. Yes. Bai Pu didn't need to hide it. Several players in the final round of the Heaven and Man should know about this matter. Leader Kiao might have learned about it from Ziyue Hulan. Can I see that piece of equipment? Leader Kiao hesitated and said, you don't need to show me all the attributes, just show me the equipment requirements. Bai Pu nodded and set the equipment requirements of Doomsday to exhibition status. Basic strength 120, basic agility 120, basic endurance 100, basic spirit 100. Leader Kiao read it carefully word by word, and then looked at Bai Pu. How did you meet the equipment requirements? Did you rely on an adventure to activate the weapon spirit to recognize the master, or did you meet the basic attribute requirements? The weapon spirit of the king-level equipment seems to be separated by a layer of black fog. My perception cannot communicate, so naturally there is no way for the weapon spirit to recognize the master. Bai Pu said. That layer of black fog is actually an insulating layer to protect you. The weapon spirit of the king-level purple weapon is not something that an awakener can control. At least it must reach the level of an evolver. Leader Kiao's expression was not disappointed, but even more excited. So, you have met the basic attribute requirements? How did you do that? Bai Pu hesitated. Leader Kiao couldn't wait any longer. Gangson, what is your rank in the Spirit World War? Major. Is it Silver Major? Leader Kiao asked. No. Bai Pu shook his head and showed his rank. The Gilded, Gold Major, rank shown quietly. Gold. Gold rank. Leader Kiao stood up suddenly. Gangson, is it because of the privilege brought by this gold rank that you can control the king-level purple weapon? That's not the case. Bai Pu thought about it and said selectively, the mission that earned me the gold rank also awarded me a seal. Bai Pu showed the Gaia seal again. When he saw the first line of the Gaia seal, which described proof of identity of the seated player recognized by Gaia's will, Leader Kiao slapped his thigh. That's it. Looking at the confused Bai Pu, Leader Kiao said seriously, Gangzin, I have confirmed the first thing, and I am overjoyed. Now I can tell you the second thing. After research and decision by the Zhejiang Central Conference, Gangzin is granted the qualification of a standing member of the Central Conference. The latest novels are first published on Liujiu 9 Shuba. Bai Pu was even more confused. Li Ling on the side was almost petrified. The Zhejiang Central Conference is the center of the highest power. Li Ling couldn't help but start to think wildly. After Gangzin enters the center, will he still let me be his practical officer? Will he have other better choices? Li Ling then thought of those colleagues in the Jiangnan District Practical Officers meeting. A considerable number of them were dissatisfied with Li Ling, who was on an equal footing with them at such a young age, and felt that Li Ling relied on nepotism to get to the top. They even went on to think that Gangzin was promoted to the regional executive too quickly. Although Gangzin was a genius from an official background and had made some meritorious contributions, he had little qualifications and should have been polished for at least 10 years before he could be awarded such an honorable position. So those colleagues would secretly squeeze Li Ling in the meeting, and even isolate Li Ling. Fortunately, the representatives of the practical officers of the two leaders, Kiao and Nai, were still very respectful. With their protection, Li Ling could maintain her dignity and have a certain right to speak at the regional practical officer meeting. Now, am I going to enter the center? Li Ling suddenly felt how ridiculous the squeeze and isolation of those colleagues were. After Gangxin won the title of Shinrun, those colleagues recognized the situation and began to show goodwill to Li Ling. If they knew how humble their attitude would be. Li Ling felt proud, and then worried about gains and losses. Although she knew that Bai Pu was a sentimental person and would not change the practical officer. But such a huge class jump still made Li Ling difficult to reason. She could only suppress her pounding heart and continue to listen to the communication between her boss and Leader Kiao. Bai Pu was very calm. He looked directly at Leader Kiao and asked, "Can I know why? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 614 Secret. It's not convenient for me to tell you the specific reason. Leader Kiao obviously knew something, But he still kept it a secret and said, Chairman Wan will tell you the specific details. Now you get ready and come with me to meet Chairman Wan. Chairman Wan. Bai Pu looked at Li Ling in confusion. Li Ling's breathing almost stopped, and she whispered, It's the Chairman Wan you are thinking of, the one who often appears in the central news. In Yunzong, in an exquisite bamboo house, Bai Pu met a legendary Chairman Wan. Chairman Wan was similar to what he saw on TV, dressed simply and had an ordinary appearance, but he had a majestic demeanor, which was the aura that came from being in the center of power for a long time and commanding the support of hundreds of people. Next to Chairman Wan, there was a peer that Bai Pu knew. Skywalker, Wan Zhen. Both of them had the surname Wan. Bai Pu quickly guessed the relationship between the two. Wan Zhen should be Chairman Wan's nephew, the kind that is more respected. Gangson, hello. Speaker Wan said with a smile, according to Lao Kiao, you are very curious about why you were promoted to the 10th Order Central Executive position. Bai Pu nodded in agreement. According to the normal promotion procedure, Bai Pu was first promoted to Central Counselor, then obtained the qualification of Alternate Executive Counselor, and then waited for time and opportunity to be promoted to the Permanent Counselor's seat. This process may take several years, or even more than 10 years. Many Central Counselors have spent their entire lives without being able to complete this journey. Moreover, even if they are promoted to the Permanent Counselor's seat, they can only be the last seat, and their sequence is below that of the Senior Permanent Counselors. Bai Pu is now directly promoted to the 10th Order, which means that the original 10th Order Permanent Counselors, and even the 200 or 300 Permanent Counselors behind, have all moved one position back. This is more difficult than the process of being promoted from a regional executive to a central executive, and it requires much more energy. I'm afraid that the 9 speakers of the first 9 sequences will vote in support together for this situation to happen. Putting Bai Pu in this position is actually very dangerous. If Bai Pu is not worthy of the position, it will inevitably cause a backlash. Although Bai Pu is good at fighting, such a high-ranking boss cannot win the support of the people just by fighting. In order to manage the work under his charge, the boss needs domestic influence, the huge power behind him, deep connections, influence in the spiritual world. All aspects are indispensable. The boss's personal fighting ability is important, but it is not everything. Bai Pu felt that the 9 speakers must have a very legitimate and urgent reason to do this, making an exception to arrange a teenager under 19 years old to the high position of the 10th sequence. Speaker 1 sighed and looked a little tired. He said slowly, Gangson, do you know the nature of the war in the spirit world? Bai Pu thought for a moment and answered, Wars will break out between the wills of the spirit world in order to compete for resources. There may also be conflicts of interest between gods and gods, or between gods and the will of the spirit world. That's right, it seems that I worry too much, you have touched deeper secrets. Speaker 1 smiled, then I will make a long story short. In this war in the spirit world, our home, the Earth, has reached a critical juncture of life and death, and is about to face the invasion of alien travelers. Alien travelers? How many are there? Bai Pu suddenly felt itchy. With his current strength at the top of the awakened, he is not inferior to most alien travelers. Speaker 1 smiled bitterly, an entire planet. Seeing Bai Pu's astonished eyes, Speaker 1 continued, the sea tribe of Stern Star is trying to locate the Earth in space. Once the location is successful, they will sacrifice resources, open the space portal, put Stern Star into the Earth's orbit, and launch an invasion. Bai Pu was shocked again when he heard about Stern Star. He instantly thought of the octopus-headed Meshet. The sea tribe belongs to the demon tribe. Could it be that this invasion is a confrontation between the demon tribe's Wuiwul and our human Gai Will? Bai Pu asked. That's not the case. As far as I know, Stern Star has long become the earthly kingdom of a god. This war was actually launched unilaterally by the god. Why is that? Is there something on Earth that is worthy of the god's covetousness? Bai Pu found it difficult to understand. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. The universe is vast, and there are countless billions of planets with life. There are as many first-level awakening planets like Earth, which have just started for hundreds of years, as there are grains of sand at the bottom of a river. Would the gods take a fancy to Earth? Bai Pu thought for a moment, is the source of the information reliable? Speaker 1 said, according to the information provided by the National Strategic Security Think Tank, in recent times, the prices of the original oil and original water in the international awakening market have risen by 72%, The price of the eternal gold has risen by 94%, and the prices of materials such as refined gold and mithril have doubled. This increase is very unusual. More than one organization is buying a large number of these high-end materials. The central meeting gathered a large number of top awakenings. After discussion, it was found that these high-end materials that have increased in price are basically used to make psychic battleships. Bai Pu shook his head. He didn't know about the psychic battleships. That's normal. You're a major now, and to obtain the synthesis blueprints of a psychic battleship, you need to be at least a brigadier general to be eligible. Speaker 1 said in a deep voice, generally speaking, a bronze brigadier general psychic battleship cannot be brought into the spirit world, and the functions it is equipped with are also very simple. There is only one special function, the secondary space gate. A bronze brigadier general class battleship can open a secondary space gate and make a space jump. Generally speaking, only masters who have passed the test of the ascension plane and are about to be promoted to evolvers can find a way to build one and ascend to a higher level world with some of their relatives and friends. But the cost effectiveness of doing so is really too low, and taking friends and family to a higher level world is a very dangerous and reckless act. I rarely see high-level masters doing this. Bai Pu nodded and said, so, generally speaking, building a psychic battleship is very low in cost effectiveness, and no one will do it. The recent surge in the prices of these materials indicates that many people are secretly building psychic battleships. Speaker 1 nodded and said, according to the investigation, the forces that have taken up these materials are basically from the United States and Canada Federation. In the United States and Canada Federation, we have people who have been in a latent state. Let's call them moles. This matter is very unusual, so we activated 3 high-level moles to gather information from different channels. The intelligence we got is what I just told you. There is already a planet called Yazd that is being invaded by the Stellan Sea clan. And Yazd is only 4,000 light-years away from us. Chapter 615. You may become the savior. 4,000 light-years seems very far away. If we rely on the spacecraft of the AD era, it will take hundreds of thousands of years to fly this distance, and it may not be reached. Speaker 1 said leisurely, but in the psychic era, with the supernatural abilities of space teleportation and dimensional jump, this distance can be reached almost by pushing the door. If it weren't for the terrifying resources required to open the interstellar portal and the cumbersome debugging of the space coordinates in the early stage, the Sea People might have invaded the Earth. Wan Zhen, who had been silent, said, yes, in fact, I think the Sea People did not get the accurate coordinates of the Earth, so they chose Yazd as the first invasion target. If they had the accurate coordinates of the Earth, they would probably invade the Earth as the first stop. Speaker 1 nodded slightly, that's right. The environment of Yazd is arid, mainly land, with only a small number of lakes. The main body of the Earth is the ocean, which is similar to the environment of Shin, and it is more likely to rouse the interest of those Sea People. Bai Pu said, Chief, I already know the crisis facing the Earth, but what does this have to do with your promotion of me? What abilities do I have that can help the Earth? Bai Pu did not think that his strength could help the Earth face the crisis. This was a war between planets, with tens of millions, hundreds of millions or even more awakened people participating in the war. Even if Bai Pu's strength was twice as strong, he would only be a drop in the ocean in a war of this scale. What determines the outcome of a war is the overall strength of both sides. Speaker 1 sighed and said, we have entered the psychic age too recently. In terms of the number of awakened people, we are not even 1/10 of Yazd, and the overall strength of the awakened masters is far less than that. And Yazd is only relatively strong among the first-order awakener planets. According to intelligence, Stellan is already a second-order evolver planet, and its strength is more than 10 times stronger than Yazd. In a head-on confrontation, the Earth has no chance of winning. Bai Pu was silent. With Yazd as a unit of measurement, the gap in strength between the Earth and Stellan is as huge as the abyss. Speaker 1 was still worried that Bai Pu would not be able to realize the strength of the evolvers, so he showed Bai Pu an item. This was a somewhat old talisman stored in a transparent box. The box was made of unknown material, and it was sealed by the official Central Council. Bai Pu had no time to study the material of the box. He was shocked by the talisman stored in the box. Thunderbolt Talisman summons an arrow thunderbolt to attack targets in a linear area, causing 8,000 basic thunder damage to the first enemy, and adding additional damage based on the user's spiritual attributes. The damage caused to the second enemy is reduced by 10%, and so on. This Thunderbolt talisman contains a trace of the true meaning of destruction. The damage caused ignores the first level shield skill and adds 160 thunder penetration. Bai Pu instinctively felt threatened. He thought that with his health of just over 8,000, high dual resistance, and various shield damage reduction skills, he could walk sideways on the earth. But he felt the terrifying power that could kill him from this small old talisman. If he was hit by 2 or 3 such talismans at the same time, Bai Pu would have to lie down with his tankiness. This is a national destiny item. Speaker 1 carefully put away the box and said slowly, as the name suggests, it is a prop to suppress national destiny. If the country cooperates with the will of the spirit world and hosts large-scale world events such as the college entrance examination, if it can be relatively fair and just, it will get the national destiny points of the will of the spirit world. If you collect 100 national destiny points, you can draw a national destiny item. What about world events such as the Heavenly War and the Professional League? Speaker 1 shook his head. These are also world events, but the scale is too small, and the national destiny points given by the will of the spirit world are also very few. It seems that the official has not accumulated many national destiny items. Bai Pu said. Not many. This thing actually serves mainly as a deterrent. For peak powerhouses like Xianfu Kenqiong, Cheoxing Dragon King, and Dongyuluan, the threat of official conventional forces to them is too weak. Only by relying on the deterrence of national destiny items can these peak powerhouses abide by the rules. Speaker 1 quaffed and said, it is definitely not possible to rely on this kind of national destiny item to deal with Shinstar. The quantity is totally insufficient, and the threat to the evolvers is very small. I took out this national destiny item mainly to explain to you how powerful the evolvers are. The evolvers use second-level equipment and second-level items, and practice second-level skills. In terms of power and priority, they must exceed the upper limit of the awakeners. You see, national destiny items are powerful, right? But the evolvers of Shinstar can unleash the power of national destiny items with every move, and the awakeners can hardly resist it. Bai Pu said, don't worry, Chief, I'm not arrogant enough to think I can resist the evolvers. That's good. Chairman 1 was relieved. He went through various tedious procedures to take out this national destiny level item from the national treasury because he was worried that Bai Pu, who is young and proud, would despise the threat of Stellenstar. The latest novel is first published on Liu Jishuba. Since Bai Pu realized the power of Stellenstar, Chairman 1 took the next step. Faced with such a powerful alien enemy, we have no other choice but one word: escape. Escape to the Milky Way world, where some predecessors of the human race on Earth are fighting hard. At least there is someone to take care of them. Steelheart, now it's time to talk about you. You already know that a bronze-level brigadier general can use materials to synthesize psychic battleships. However, a bronze-level battleship is estimated to carry at most a few hundred people, which is a drop in the bucket compared to the overall situation. Going up one level, the silver-class brigadier general's ship has a much stronger carrying capacity than the bronze-class ship, which is equivalent to a small city. However, the silver brigadier general is too rare, and we only have one in China. The ship of the highest level gold-class brigadier general must be more powerful and can save more people. In particular, there is one more thing: only officers with a gold rank can be promoted to regular generals, which is a qualitative change compared to brigadier generals. Chairman 1 looked at Bai Pu and said slowly, Gang Xin, do you understand? This is the biggest reason why the 9-member meeting voted unanimously to promote you to the 10th sequence on the front line. You may become the savior. Bai Pu's heart was pounding. Although he guessed some clues, when this heavy responsibility was placed on his shoulders, he still found it difficult to suppress the excitement in his heart, and inexplicable emotions were rising. I am only a gold major now. To be promoted to a gold brigadier general or even a major general, a huge amount of honor points are needed. Is there still enough time? Bai Pu asked. Chapter 616 Jade-faced young man. Honor points are not difficult. Speaker 1 said slowly, before meeting you, the staff department has already conceived 3 plans to help you quickly gain honor points. First, contact the leaders of major domestic forces to form a high-level awakened army to participate in the Spirit World War. You can get extra Spirit World War honor points as the commander of this army. Second, the whole country will vigorously collect unbound and tradable Spirit World War medals, which you can exchange for honor points. Third, the high-level awakened criminals captured by the Secret Service will be handed over to you for legitimate defense and kill, and draw honor point cards from the opponent's bloody treasure chest. Bai Pu listened and nodded repeatedly. It is worthy of being an official, almost reaching the extreme under the framework of the spirit world will. Chairman Wan then said, in fact, these three paths are basically verified and effective. But the most difficult part of being promoted from a major to a general is not the honor points, but the corresponding medal required every time you are promoted to a small rank. As far as I know, a bronze colonel level officer needs a bronze medal to be promoted from a major to a lieutenant colonel. A silver level major needs a silver medal. Based on this, a gold major needs 3 gold medals to be promoted to a gold brigadier general, crossing the 3 hurdles of lieutenant colonel, colonel, and brigadier general. Unfortunately, I have never seen a gold medal. This is the key issue that needs to be solved urgently. Bai Pu was slightly stunned. This is not a coincidence. When I was doing the rank promotion task, the will of the spiritual world rewarded me with 3 gold medals. Bai Pu said, and then showed the gold medal. In the palm of Bai Pu's hand, a yellow-orange medal appeared, with a 3-leaf sickle pattern engraved in the center. Gold medal can be exchanged for 10,000 honors. When a gold-level officer is promoted to higher rank, below general, he must use a gold medal. Good, great. Even with Speaker Wan's skill in cultivating his ki, he was surprised and delighted. He stood up and said excitedly, Gang Xin, it seems that the rank promotion task you completed is remarkable. In addition to getting the gold rank, you were also awarded 3 additional gold medals. This means that the will of the spirit world is very optimistic about you and believes that you can be promoted to gold brigadier general without passing additional tests. Speaker Wan paced in the living room. Wang Zhen secretly gave Bai Pu a thumbs up. He had never seen his old man so excited. Thinking of Gang Xin being 1 year younger than him, Wang Zhen couldn't think of any other adjectives for a while except for secretly calling him awesome. Gang Xin, go read some information about the intelligence of the top forces. The commander of the high-level awakened corps we jointly formed must be you, and the appointment will be announced soon. Speaker Wan pondered for a while. I will send people to buy the materials for the production of psychic warships on the international market immediately. Although I don't know what materials the warship of the Golden Commodore needs, it is always right to generalize from the drawings of bronze and silver class warships. It is better to be inadequate than to be insufficient. With our participation, the price of those high-end and popular materials will be even more unstoppable. Bai Pu said. Speaker Wan was very confident. Don't worry, in terms of psychic points, the whole country of China is not comparable to a few century-old families. Even if the official of the United States and Canada Federation takes action, they can't compete with us. Bai Pu knew that since the psychic era, China has maintained the best order, has the largest population, the number of awakened people, and the overall strength is very strong. Just looking at the peak title competition, it is clear that China has 5 peak title competitions, which is unmatched by any other country. Horizontal ellipsis. 3 days later, at the junction of Yunzhong, a closed training ground specially renovated by the government. The surroundings of the venue, whether it is the dome, the ground, or the surrounding walls, are all made of steel with a psychic particle strength of more than 5.0, with a cold and gloomy color. With the strength of steel, even a peak awakener would have to make several consecutive shots to break a 5 centimeter thick steel plate. And the thickness of the wall of this venue is 50 centimeters. Suddenly, a circular door above the dome swung open, and a man in shackles fell in. Then, the circular door quickly closed. Fuck, what the hell is this place? The man in shackles was thin and had high cheekbones. Between his messy gray hair, a pair of deep eyes occasionally flashed a cruel look. A female voice came through the broadcast hole. Zhang Tao, codename Jade-Faced Young Master, 8th level hero occupation Dark Desire Indulgence, A+ grade wanted criminal, guilty of multiple crimes such as repeated rape, serial murder, endangering public safety by dangerous means, etc. The face of Jade-Faced Young Master Zhang Tao really has nothing to do with the word jade-faced. He raised his stubble chin and said disdainfully, "What's the point of reading my glorious deeds again? At worst, you can kill me. I've already had enough in this life. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar." The female voice on the radio, "No, Zhang Tao, you have a chance to survive now. As long as you can defeat Lord Steelheart in a fair one-on-one battle, you can not only survive, but also be exempted from the existing charges." Huh? Really? Zhang Tao's eyes lit up slightly. Suddenly, a voice came from behind Zhang Tao. The agreement can be signed, and the will of the spirit world will be notarized. Zhang Tao's pupils shrank instantly. With his perception, he had never noticed anyone behind him. What does this mean? It means that the person behind him has a very strong control over his own energy, and rarely leaks his breath. He turned around abruptly and saw a young man in white clothes putting down a scroll in his hand and slowly getting up from the ground where he was sitting cross-legged. Gangson, I know you. A rising star with a rising reputation, and a candidate for the battle between heaven and man. But I'm not afraid of you. The female voice on the radio, Zhang Tao, during the time you were arrested and imprisoned, Lord Gangson has won the title of heaven and man. Your news is delayed. Zhang Tao's breathing stagnated, and then he stared at Bai Pu and looked at him carefully. The authorities are actually doing this for you. Are you the illegitimate son of a big shot on the nine-man council? This is illegal, right? The female voice on the radio obviously had experience, and spoke directly. Zhang Tao, you don't have to ask too many questions, just give a yes or no answer, valid for 30 seconds. The countdown began. Zhang Tao was in a dilemma in his mind for a few seconds, and gritted his teeth and said, I agree. Damn it, I don't believe this. Sign the notarization agreement for me. Okay. But there is a clause in the agreement, you must make the first move. The female voice on the radio said. Let me make the first move, you want to defend yourself, right? Zhang Tao thought he had figured it out, and his mouth gritted, baring his teeth to reveal a sinister smile. So that's how it is, you like my equipment? No problem. It depends on whether you have the life to take it. Chapter 617, Humans vs. Demons. Bai Pu stared at Zhang Tao in front of him. He had long known Zhang Tao's information. The dark desire indulgence had a very special professional skill. It was to increase one's own attributes and skill power by indulging one's own dark desires and gaining satisfaction from it. This profession itself tended to be criminal. Like the mutant skills of many awakened criminals, it was a mutant profession that mutated in Zhang Tao's professional plane. In that plane, Zhang Tao believed in the Lord of Indulgence and became his chosen one. Bang, bang, bang. Zhang Tao took out a golden pistol and fired 3 shots at Bai Pu. The 3 bullets drew 3 different arcs, and each bullet trajectory had a tail of a different color. Red, green, and blue. The red bullet was attached with the emotion of rage, representing the fire attribute. The green bullet was attached with the emotion of silver evil, representing the corrosion attribute. The blue bullet was attached with a desire of arrogance, representing the frost attribute. For each attack, the dark desire indulgence can attach up to 80 points of corresponding desire satisfaction value to increase the power of the skill. Raging fire is pure damage, corrosion silver is to damage the target's armor, and frost pride is to control the speed. Zhang Tao's idea is very simple. He has learned about Bai Pu's information and knows that Bai Pu is good at close combat and is a high armor tank, so he has formulated a tactic of slowing down plus kiting, relying on the continuous burning damage of raging fire to slowly grind. Bai Pu's body surface stretches out a layer of volcanic shield, raises his hand and stabs out the pistol, and a colorful fighting spirit arrow shoots out, shooting down the flaming bullet. The other 2 bullets hit Bai Pu, but the damage caused is very little, leaving only a circle of ripples on the volcanic shield. As for the corrosive armor and frost deceleration effects, Bai Pu directly takes it. The awakened jade-faced young master attacks you. Within 30 minutes, you can counterattack in legitimate defense. Killing the target will not increase the blood value, and the drop rating of the bloody treasure chest is +1. It's time to start. Bai Pu raised his hand to suppress Zhang Tao, but after Zhang Tao untied him, he hit him with a lasso and dragged Zhang Tao in front of him. The pistol shot out like lightning. Before Zhang Tao woke up from the double illusion of the mountain collapse, he felt a sharp pain in his chest, followed by the shattered energy that exploded in his body. Boom! With a loud bang, Zhang Tao's body exploded. At this moment, he looked confused. The shield attached to the equipment, the shield skills he cultivated, and 2 different damage reduction abilities, all failed to prevent him from being killed instantly. What kind of pervert am I facing? Zhang Tao's consciousness was dark. Bai Pu shook the pistol lightly, and a drop of blood fell. The side door opened, and several awakened staff members in white coats came in silently to clean up the mess. The female voice on the radio said helplessly, Gangson, can't you be more polite? Every time you make it like this, there are corpses all over the ground. The staff are very tired. I know, Sister Ling. Bai Pu knew that Li Ling was joking, so he didn't care and waved his hand. He directly opened the bloody treasure chest left by Zhang Tao. This guy's killing value is not low, a full 42 points. After Bai Pu eliminated the 2 cards of storage space items and wearable equipment, he drew twice. Luckily, both loot cards received honor points, one 4,109 and one 4,337. Li Ling asked, "How much honor do you have now?" "More than 36,000, less than 4,000 honor points away from the golden kernel." Bai Pu breathed a sigh of relief. Jade-faced young man Zhang Tao, this guy is the criminal who has contributed the most honor in recent days. In addition to the honor value, Zhang Tao's death also provided Bai Pu with 2 points of heavenly attribute points. This guy's attributes have reached 80% of Bai Pu's full attributes, which is considered a strong enemy. It's just that Bai Pu's combat power amplitude is too high. Whether it's secrets, equipment or skills, they all crush Zhang Tao, so there is no suspense about his victory. Li Ling said, "Unfortunately, Zhang Tao is the last suitable awakened criminal. Other criminals are too low in level and too weak in strength. Even if they actively attack you, they can't get the bloody treasure chest." Most of the awakened criminals arrested by the Secret Service are low-level and mid-level awakened. High-level awakened criminals are basically wanted criminals above level A. It is very difficult to arrest them, so their number is scarce. With Bai Pu's current strength, only high-level awakened criminals can bring him bloody treasure chests steadily. Other low-level and mid-level criminals, even if they can explode treasure chests, most of them have no honor points to draw. Because the war in the spirit world is basically concentrated in the outbreak of the high-level spirit world. Next, to accumulate honor points, I have to consider participating in a spiritual world war. The latest novel is first published on the 69th Book Forum. Bai Pu is quietly planning. He has been looking up information recently to check the spiritual world development progress of various forces in China. The war between Gaizwala and other spiritual worlds broke out in multiple high-level planes at the same time, and many large Chinese forces are involved. Since the last meeting between Speaker 1 and Bai Pu reached a consensus, the official secretly summoned a group of leaders of major forces with good reputations and revealed to them the information about the invasion of the Sea Tribe. As the leader of the Xiao Gang, the goddess of Wushan was also fortunate to be invited to attend. Of course, these people have signed confidentiality agreements in advance and will not leak. In fact, many major forces have smelled something wrong. After all, the abnormally crazy rise of those high-end and unpopular materials in the international market cannot be concealed from those who are interested. Knowing the great crisis of the invasion of the Sea Tribe, the leaders of various forces all readily agreed to the official suggestions. The first one is that the major forces exchange what they have, jointly form the Huaxia Legion, and nominate Bai Pu as the commander of the spiritual world war of the Huaxia Legion. Fortunately, Bai Pu won the title of heaven and proved his strength. Otherwise, his age would be difficult to convince the public. Bai Pu doesn't have to worry about the other items, such as working together to purchase materials, etc. Through a comprehensive analysis of the intelligence sent by the Huaxia Legion from various planes, Bai Pu has preliminarily determined that the next 3 planes are likely to have a high possibility of a war with the alien walkers. These 3 planes are the world of the Throne of Elements, the Jurassic world, and the world of silicon-based fire. In the world of the Throne of Elements, the Fox tribe appeared. In the Jurassic world, the Dogrong appeared. In the world of silicon-based fire, the Winged Snake tribe appeared. These 3 tribes all belong to a large tribe, the Demon tribe. In other words, Gaizwala is currently fighting against the Demon tribe's Huaowul, and the human race is fighting against the Demon tribe. The Sea Clan is also a branch of the Demon clan. Bai Pu has reason to believe that the Sea Clan's attacks on Yazdan Earth are an expansion of the spiritual war. Of course, in addition to the above 3 worlds, there are also some other worlds where aliens appear, and there is also the possibility of a war, but the frequency of aliens appearing is not as high as in these 3 worlds. Suddenly, Li Ling's voice sounded, "Gang Xin, come out quickly, there is a new situation that needs you to deal with." Chapter 618 Son of the Sea. What's going on? Bai Pu asked outside the training ground. Li Ling held a newly printed document in her hand and said, "The Jiangnan branch of the Special Service Bureau sent back a message. Some awakened people with unofficial identities have been frequently appearing in various border areas recently. The special agent Yuan Tang in charge of this matter felt something was strange, so he secretly followed several of the awakened people, and found that these people buried an unknown device in the border area. This seriously violated the regulations for the use of the border area. Bai Pu took the document and looked through it, asking, what happened next? Yuan Tang had a conflict with those awakened people. Yuan Tang had just been promoted to senior awakened person, and his strength had not yet been fully developed. He suffered a small loss in the battle, but he also ran away and called the official Special Operations Brigade to surround the various entrances and exits of the border area. Unfortunately, those awakened people saw the opportunity quickly and had already escaped before the Special Operations Brigade arrived. Although Bai Pu has assumed the new position of the Standing Counselor of the 10th Sequence Central Committee and the Commander-in-Chief of the Awakening Corps of Country H, he was previously in charge of the border areas of the Jiangnan region, and this job has not yet been handed over. Therefore, any abnormal situation will still be reported to Bai Pu. This matter is a bit unusual. What about those unknown devices? Have they been found? Li Ling said, at the border where the conflict occurred, several suspects fled with the devices directly after forcing Yuan Tang to retreat, and no one was seized. However, Yuan Tang then led people to check other suspicious border areas and collected several samples. After handing them over to the Special Equipment Department for identification, it was confirmed that this was a type of teleportation and positioning device. Teleportation and positioning. Bai Pu narrowed his eyes slightly, and then issued an order. All members of the Special Service Bureau in the 7 regions of the country are dispatched to check all border areas to confirm whether there are similar teleportation and positioning devices. Li Ling immediately sent this order to the practical officers in charge of each region. Gang Xin, do you suspect that this is not an isolated case in the Jiangnan region, but an action across the country? Bai Pu nodded slightly, and then gave the second instruction, Sister Ling, if similar equipment is found in other regions, report it directly to the 9-person meeting. It is recommended that a note be sent to other countries, asking them to check for similar equipment at the same time. Li Ling took a breath of cold air, and she also realized the seriousness of the matter. In the judgment of her own boss, this is not a matter of one region, or even a domestic matter, but may be an event of the whole world. Combined with the recently learned world-destroying crisis, Li Ling made further guesses. She saluted Bai Pu, then turned and left in a hurry. The official forces that were already on alert are incredibly efficient once they are activated. Bai Pu's order was issued only 1 hour and 24 minutes before feedback came from the East China Sea region, and the same transmission and positioning equipment was found at 5 intersections. Other regions have also made gains one after another. The Jiangnan Region Special Service Bureau, under the leadership of Yuan Tang, even found a hiding place of these suspicious awakeners and arrested 2 people. They are currently being interrogated. After receiving Bai Pu's report, the 9-man meeting sent a formal note to the neighboring countries without much discussion. Of course, with a state of separatist disputes among the various consortiums in the neighboring countries, the speed of reaction to such international notes is much slower. According to the interrogation results of spells such as charm and mental enslavement, the 2 awakeners confessed. Commandants, these are their confessions. Because it involves too many things, we dare not make a direct decision. The head of the Secret Service Bureau, Hong Du, is a shrewd and capable middle-aged man. Although he is not well known, his strength is already at the level of a candidate for the top title. He comes from an official background and is deeply trusted by the big guys. The top-level 9-person meeting, now that Bai Pu has temporarily joined as the 10th sequence, has become a de facto 10-person meeting. According to the law, Bai Pu has no voting rights, only the right to attend and speak. Of course, the regulations are one aspect, and the actual situation is another. The importance of Bai Pu now is clear to all the central bosses of the 9-person meeting. As long as Bai Pu's suggestions are reasonable, the big guys are very respectful. After receiving the interrogation results provided by Hong Du, the big guys examined them. This behind-the-scenes organization is called Son of the Sea? I can't believe it. The Miracle Auction House, Fengzi Auction House, Donggayu Dojo, so many major domestic forces are among them. It seems that Gangxin guessed it right. This organization called Son of the Sea has installed positioning devices all over the country, which should be preparing for the invasion of the Sea people. Several bigwigs exchanged opinions. Chairman Wan asked, Gangson, what do you think? Bai Pu said, it is obvious that the sea people are not fully prepared for our spatial positioning. They don't have our accurate spatial coordinates. That's why they infiltrate in this way. The more and more densely the positioning device is infiltrated by the sun of the sea, the smoother the sea people's spatial positioning of us will be, and the shorter the time will be. The question now is how long it will take for the sea people to accurately locate us and launch an invasion. The latest novels are first released on Liuji 9 Shuba. The eyes of other bigwigs followed Bai Pu and looked at Huangdu. Huangdu's forehead was sweating. The two caught are just ponies. This kind of secret is probably only known by the top leaders of the Sons of the Sea. Everyone, the situation is urgent, so let's not discuss it. I propose that we directly encircle and eliminate all the scums on this list who are suspected of joining the Sons of the Sea organization. The number one boss slammed the table. The others agreed. Now is an extraordinary period. There is no time to carefully identify them, just control them first. Gangson doesn't need to go, just sit in command. Chairman Wan said. Bai Pu shook his head and smiled, everyone, I can't miss this opportunity. Now my honor value is still 4,000 away from Colonel, and more than 30,000 away from Brigadier General. The Sons of the Sea organization must have many masters, this is a big fish in the net. Catch them back and kill them one by one, the effect will be the same. And it will be safer. Bai Pu still insisted on going. Forget it, since Gangson wants to go, then go. I suggest unsealing the National Destiny props number 7 and number 11 and granting them to Gangson to use to fully protect his safety. Second. The boss has agreed without hesitation. Horizontal ellipsis. Fengzi Auction House Headquarters, Private Border Haiyan Mountain. In the violent space shock, an invisible ray of light cut a big crack in the sky of the Danshan border. Border enforcement props, space cutting device. Figures flew in one after another, they were the H-Country Army, awakened masters from various forces. Chapter 619 Dual Flag. Following closely were teams of senior special forces. Listen up, everyone at the border. Fengzi Auction House is suspected of committing crimes, and this place is taken over by the Chinese Special Warfare Corps. All personnel give up resistance and accept screening. If there are any resistance, we have the right to shoot them directly. The officer of the Special Warfare Brigade, holding a loudspeaker prop, announced loudly. The grand voice, with a fluctuation of psychic particles, spread to every corner of the Xianshan border. Just attack. Ziyue Hulan, who led the team, waved his hand. Ziyue Hulan has no decent power, but he can be listed as a standing member of the central government, naturally because of his candidate-level strength. Power means responsibility. At this time, Ziyue Hulan must show his value and lead the team to go out. Along the way, if there are any resistances that attempt to approach or raid the shooter troops, Ziyue Hulan will use the clever Wu Fang return secret skill to deflect the attack and slow down the speed. The hostile raiders whose speed is slowed down are the live targets of the shooter troops. Ziyue Hulan is already very skilled in such cooperation. He himself prefers to be a support, because the output of the shooter unit is sufficient. Sure enough, the official action is a crushing victory. Ziyue Hulan sighed silently in his heart. Originally, I would have brought 1,000 magic musketeers, but this time the situation is serious, and some top forces such as the Xiaogang are willing to send experts to assist. It feels like a mountain crushing an egg. In front of Ziyue Hulan, masters from various forces flashed and jumped. While investigating the enemy situation, they also eliminated some scattered enemies. Only when they encountered strong enemies would they call for large forces to come and encircle and suppress. In this way, they advanced step by step, and soon advanced from the edge of the border of Danshan to the central region, a tall building complex standing at the foot of the central foothills of Danshan. This is also the home of Fengzi Auction House. Suddenly, on the top floor of the tallest building, a young woman with a graceful figure and a purple dress appeared. She held a sheet metal horn, which was also a psychic prop for amplifying sound. Her charming voice spread throughout the venue. Lord Ziyue Hulan, our Fengzi Auction House has always been fair and law-abiding. Why bother to make such a big scene? This young woman in purple skirt was the general manager of Fengzi Auction House, King Mi. Ziyue Hulan said lightly, you know what you did? I was just following orders. Ziyue Hulan had some relationship with Fengzi Auction House. He also participated in the last peak auction and was invited to the banquet afterwards. But at this critical moment of right and wrong, he could only say 6 words, Don't get involved if you are not familiar with it. Excuse me, is there any official law enforcement document? You have to act according to the law, right? King Mi insisted. Zhua Hualin smiled. King Mi, don't think about delaying time. Before activating the space-cutting device and forcibly entering the Danshan Junction, we have already activated the space interference device. Now the 6 space channels at the Danshan Junction are all in a state of non-operation. It is an isolated city. None of your men can escape. Just surrender immediately, or we will accidentally kill you. The King Mi's face changed after hearing these words. Suddenly, a cold voice sounded. Lao Lin, since you won't leave us a way to live, then you can't live either. The speaker was a man with a cold face. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of war drums was heard, and an iron-blooded battle flag fell from the sky. 2 blood-colored energy ribbons extended from the battle flag, one end of which encircled Zuhulin, and the other end of which encircled the cold-blooded man. Zuhulin was shocked and pointed at the cold-blooded man. Zhuoyan. You actually. Before he finished speaking, Zuhulin and the cold-blooded man Zhuoyan were pulled by the blood-colored ribbons, and their figures flew rapidly towards the iron-blooded battle flag, shrinking rapidly and disappearing during the flight. Only the iron-blooded battle flag was left on the spot. Zuhulin has been dragged into the dual space by Lord Zhuoyan, the first candidate for the title of Sword Saint. Everyone, now is the time to fight back. If we don't fight hard, we will all become prisoners and lose our freedom as awakened people forever. A hoarse voice sounded in the misty void. A group of awakened people rushed out of the building. Most of them rushed from the ground, such as Xingwen jumping and throwing, and a small part relied on flying means to pounce on the magic musketeer troops in a loose formation. The leading expert Bai Feng sent by the Xiaogang retreated to the commander of the musketeer troops, Major Kun Peng, and whispered, "It's a bit bad. Lord Zuhulin has been restricted. Without his Wufang Huliu secret, it is difficult to protect the safety of the archer troops from the attacks of many masters. The official archer troops won by relying on the powerful military force formed by the advantage of numbers, but now it seems that the enemy's military strength is not weak. Under the competition of equal military strength, the fragile shortcomings of the archer troops themselves will be magnified." Kun Peng said, "What's the matter with that strange flag? How long will it take for Master Zuhulin to come out? The latest novels are first published on Liujiu 9 Shuba. It's hard to say." Bai Feng replied very quickly while resisting the attack. "That flag is a relatively rare item, the dual flag, which can drag the target into the dual space. There are only 2 possibilities for Master Zuhulin to come out. The first is to kill the opponent in the dual space and break out. The second is to wait until the time limit is over and the dual flag becomes invalid." Kun Peng commanded the magic musketeers to fire dense bullets, turning the incoming stream of true energy into a sieve. He hurriedly asked, "How long is the time limit?" "Generally at least 10 minutes. Can we destroy the flag through external force attack?" "Yes, but it depends on the priority. Only external force output with a priority of 10 points can destroy the dual flag, at least a lord can do it." Kun Peng was speechless. What does 10 points of priority mean? The basic priority of the lord is 6 points, and the additional priority of the 4-star skill is 4 points. Only the lord can activate the 4-star skill to reach 10 points of priority. Any enhanced hero below the lord cannot do it, because the awakener world has never heard of the existence of 5-star skills. Now, we can only ask for help from the headquarters. Bai Feng said. "I did it a long time ago." Kun Peng shouted. The awakeners of Feng's auction house are attacking more and more fiercely. Bai Feng and other masters protect the archer troops and retreat while fighting. As for Zuhulin in the dual space, he can only rely on himself. Anyway, Zuhulin has a strong ability to escape, and even 2 or 3 top awakeners at the candidate level can hardly keep him. Crack! The space-cutting wave came again. Rescue is coming. Hey, why is this space-cutting wave so weak? It seems that it can only accommodate 1 person. Bai Feng's disappointment was beyond words. In his opinion, with the stubborn enemy forces at the junction of Xianshan, at least a high-level awakening regiment must be sent. Don't be silly, it's Lord Steelheart who is coming. Kun Peng obviously knew the origin of the reinforcements, and said excitedly, "Lord Zuhulin is also saved." The wave subsided, and a towering figure like a heavy cloud quietly floated above the junction of Xianshan. Chapter 620, Surrender. The towering figure appeared, wearing heavy and simple armor, holding a short gun and a large shield, stepping on a magic sand disk, quietly floating, It was Bai Pu. Bai Pu's dark gold tower shield, vigilance of the Queen of Magic Spiders, was cut into 2 pieces in the last battle between heaven and man. Fortunately, this tower shield has the ability to devour the corpses of the strong and restore its durability, saving Bai Pu the trouble of repairing it. Long before he arrived, the senior awakened officer Kunpeng who led the team had already reported the emergency. Bai Pu looked around the field and had a panoramic view of the situation on the battlefield. When the enemy and our awakened people are fighting at full strength, the strength of their aura can be identified through the induction of Qi. Bai Pu had a clear grasp of the enemy and our strength, and immediately began to give orders. Archer troops, line shooting. Xiaogang awakened people, lead the team to defend the left wing. Iron Wall Guild awakened people, lead the team to defend the right wing. A series of clear orders were issued, and the official archer troops who had been retreating all the way quickly stabilized and began to form a formation to counterattack. The masters of the Xiaogang and the TB Guild also followed Bai Pu's orders and lined up on the left and right to guard. As for the front of the formation with the largest area of enemy, which was originally the territory guarded by Ziyue Hulan, Bai Pu flew down directly. With a loud bang, the earth seemed to tremble, and with Bai Pu as the center, fine cracks crawled all over the ground. There are quite a few awakened masters in Xianshan. The 4 masters with certain flying abilities rushed to the front. They were the fastest and attacked the archer troops directly in the air from a high position. As a result, these attacks were all hit by Bai Pu's big shield, which created a huge tsunami-like wall of Genki waves and disappeared. The awakened people in Xianshan shrank back a little. A person's reputation is like a tree's shadow. As a newly promoted celestial being, Bai Pu's sense of oppression towards these people is incomparable to Ziyue Hulan, a mere candidate. At this moment, a hoarse voice sounded again. No matter how strong he is only one person. Are you hundreds of high-level awakeners really going to be controlled by a young boy and put into the official prison? This hoarse voice seemed to come from all directions, and no one knew where it came from. Bai Pu said calmly, there may be wanted criminals among you, but there are more awakened people with clean backgrounds and who abide by the law. If you give up resistance and are willing to accept official screening, I guarantee in the name of the commander of the Chinese Spirit World War that I will definitely clear your name. After a pause, Bai Pu added, as long as they have not committed numerous murders, those who accidentally violated the law will not be punished. These words made the awakened people in Xianshan waver. Suddenly someone sighed and said dejectedly, okay, since it is the 10th sequence Steel Heart boss who has spoken, we have to give him this face. Anyway, I have not committed any serious crimes, so let it be. The man put away his weapon, raised his hands, and flew in front of Bai Pu. Bai Pu was not polite and directly signaled Kunpeng to take out a set of bloody torture instruments and put the man up. Afterwards, people surrendered one after another. Some of the sinful Danshan awakeners cursed at these surrenderers and even started fighting. Hundreds of Danshan awakeners broke out into a big civil strife because of Bai Pu's words. Of course, Bai Pu's words were just a trigger. What really worked was the strong strength of Bai Pu's side. Bai Pu's own status and the credibility of his words brought by his status are important factors. Enough. The hoarse voice sounded for the 3rd time. You are all guests of Feng's auction house. You are good friends. There is no need to hurt your loyalty for this. Everyone has their own ambitions. Those who are willing to let the government put shackles on them and beg for mercy, let them go. This hoarse voice seemed to be quite prestigious. As soon as the words were finished, the intensity of the civil strife was reduced a lot. The Danshan awakeners stopped fighting among themselves and allowed about 1/3 of the awakeners to surrender. Fortunately, there were a lot of bloody torture instruments prepared for the attack on the border of Danshan this time, otherwise they would not be enough. The awakened ones who were wearing bloody torture instruments were only 1/10 of their strength, and there would be no sudden rebellion to affect the battle situation. The 2 sides tacitly did not continue to fight, and waited until Bai Pu's surrender was over. The hoarse voice was cold. Giant heart, what a great prestige. After all, you are just a young boy. Don't say that you have only awakened for 2 years, even if you have awakened for 20 years, what? In the face of the general trend, personal ability is always insignificant. Obviously, this hoarse voice was suppressing anger. Bai Pu's words destroyed 1/3 of the awakened combat power of Danshan. These precious combat forces were all masters that Feng's auction house usually tried hard to win over. The owner of the hoarse voice was obviously the big boss behind the Feng's auction house, And he must be heartbroken. Oh? Finally caught a big fish. It seems that the other party knows a lot about the inside story of the Son of the Sea. The latest novels are first published on the 69th Book Forum. Bai Pu thought silently in his heart, but did not reply. He just waved his pistol, shooter troops, 3-stage shooting, target 5 directions, and the leading auxiliary officers are ready to use skills. Bai Pu raised his hand, and the lasso attack was divided into 5 paths, accurately catching the 5 awakened enemies. The illusion of a mountain collapse and the huge force that Bai Pu could not resist, the 5 awakened were dragged over one after another. These 5 people were all the targets that Bai Pu had just observed. They cursed the surrenderists the most and attacked them the most resolutely. They were indeed diehards. Several auxiliary officers, according to the distance, gave the 5 people vulnerable skills such as hunter's mark and aiming. Then there was a continuous sound of gunfire, and the bullets shot out like meteors. This is another level of dimensionality reduction attack. Although the 5 awakened ones were all masters, with all the equipment enhancement levels and protective skills, they were still shot like sieves in front of the rain of musket bullets. Bai Pu was the closest, and he could even see that the shields on the 5 people collapsed first, the damage absorption skills were saturated, and then there were dense bullet holes on the surface of the body, and the health bars were emptied in an instant. Behind Bai Pu, there were also ripples. Obviously, the firepower coverage of these magic musketeers could not be 100% accurate, and a small number of projectiles hit Bai Pu. But under the effect of layer-by-layer damage reduction and fixed physical damage absorption, many bullets failed to break the defense. Occasionally, there were bullets that broke through the defense, but they were also absorbed by the shield of the volcanic appearance. The awakened people of Xianshan shouted and cursed, and they attacked one after another, trying to attack the shooter troops and disrupt their output rhythm. The Xiaogang and the Iron Wall Guild provided support on both sides, and Bai Pu put up a large shield in front. The powerful prismatic fighting spirit was injected into it, and the huge wall of Genki pushed forward, annihilating all the skills that came in a domineering and brutal way. Kunpeng and other instructors of the archer unit felt so comfortable. With Bai Pu at the front and the prismatic field that restricted the enemy's advance, the archer unit advanced extremely smoothly. The Xianshan awakeners collapsed at the first touch, and fell back like sand washed away by the waves. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 621 Iron Fox. Bai Pu led the army to push forward and soon push back to the depths of the border of Xianshan, where they saw the continuous buildings at the foot of the central mountain. There was also the dual flag, which still stood in place. Ziyu Aihulan and the first candidate for the sword Saint, Zhuan, were still fighting in the dual space. The awakened people of Xianshan continued to collapse, but within Bai Pu's prismatic field, they had no way to quickly get out of the battle. On the other hand, the official magic musketeer troops were archers with special agility and moved quickly. With the blessing of Bai Pu's field, their speed was even faster, and they kept chasing and calling out names. In each wave of linear shooting, several awakened people of Xianshan lost their combat effectiveness. The unlucky ones were killed directly, and the lucky ones had a little blood left, and fell to the ground in a seriously injured state. The morale of the awakened people of Xianshan dropped significantly. Except for a few diehards, many other awakened people, even those who were responsible for a few murders, could not bear it any more, knelt down and raised their hands, asking for surrender. Bai Pu ordered the masters of the Xiaogang and the Iron Wall Guild to use bloody instruments to tie up the seriously injured awakened ones who fell to the ground and kneeled down to surrender. However, the speed of the large army did not slow down at all. Finally, the owner of the hoarse voice could not sit still. Steel Heart. Don't think that you are the only one who has domain skills. With a sharp shout, 3 figures flew out from the top floor of the central building. Boom, boom. The 3 figures burst out with powerful auras one after another. 1 gray and 2 blue domain phantoms spread rapidly and collided with Bai Pu's prismatic domain. The gray domain is called Iron Curtain, and its effect is to reduce the speed of the enemy and increase the armor of friendly forces. The 2 blue domains, however, have no information prompts and can only be distinguished by color, 1 light blue and 1 dark blue. The light blue domain can be seen with the naked eye to increase the speed of the awakened ones in Xianshan, and their professional energy is also slowly recovering. The deep blue domain is the most special. Within the domain, phantoms of giant water beasts appear one after another, charging back and forth and attacking, causing water elemental damage to enemies within the range. Master Steelheart. The man in the front is the owner of the Miracle Auction House, Iron Fox, and his rank is Bronze Brigadier General. Kunpeng whispered, "It was this guy just now who has been playing tricks on us. He used small props to change his voice, otherwise I would have heard it a long time ago." Miracle's Auction House. An officer next to him asked in confusion, "Isn't this Ianshan Junction that we are responsible for attacking the headquarters of the Fengzi Auction House?" Iron Fox is the owner of the Miracle, why is he here? The Fengzi Auction House must have colluded with the Miracle. After all, they all have a common master. Kunpeng pointed to the two figures behind Iron Fox who unfolded the blue domain. The appearance of the two people is a little special. Although they are mainly human, they have the characteristics of fish. Obviously, they are the sea people of the Stellan Star. For the Earth, they are outsider travelers. Bai Pu recalled that when Fengzi Auction House held its peak auction, it invited Maya Aluo, the ace auctioneer of Miracle. This move of using one's own pillar to support competitors originally puzzled Bai Pu. Now this doubt has been solved. It seems that Fengzi Auction House and Miracle Auction House had a secret collusion at that time, which belongs to finding the organization. Could it be that the infiltration of the sea people of Stellan Star into the Earth had already begun at that time? Bai Pu frowned, feeling that the time was not right. If the sea people had targeted the Earth so early, then the fall of the Earth should have been ranked before that of Yazd Star. Bai Pu did not continue to assume, he fully unfolded the prismatic field, and fought against 3 enemies alone. On the battlefield, the colorful light on Bai Pu's side and the gray-blue light of the 3 Iron Foxes invaded and interfered with each other. The pure energy of various professions met and collided in the air. After all, the gray-blue light was powerful and had a tendency to overwhelm the colorful light, but the colorful light was like a spring. The more it was pressed, the more it would rebound. The result of the domain confrontation was still almost a tie. The effect of Bai Pu's prismatic domain was weakened to 60%. The effect of Taihu's iron curtain domain was weakened to 25%, and the effect of the blue domain of the 2 alien walkers was weakened to about 30%. The 3 of Taihu had to rely on the accumulated strength to compete with a bonus weakening effect of the prismatic domain. One of the alien walkers had a thin shell on his face. He looked puzzled and muttered something with a black communicator inserted in his ear. The latest novel was first published on the 69th book bar. There was also a similar translation and communication device next to Taihu's ear. This kind of translation and communication device is specially used by first-level awakeners. At the level of the second-order evolvers, there is no need for such low-level translators. Evolvers can communicate through thoughts and speak directly in each other's minds. Language is no longer an obstacle. The one with a shell face said, "This is impossible. How can such a backward civilization on Earth produce such a powerful awakener? It can fight against my domain and Hasmo's domain at the same time, and the energy intensity is comparable to that of a lord." Iron Fox whispered, "Lord Boss, this person is Steelheart. He is an anomaly. According to reliable information, he has king-level purple equipment." The shell-faced boss exclaimed "Oh," and then said excitedly, "Great, kill him and get his purple equipment." Another alien traveler Hasmo, with a blue stripe pattern on his face and webbed feet on his arms, also showed an interested look. To get king-level purple equipment at the Awakener level, this kind of genius is very rare on the Stellan Star, and is qualified to join the Sea Temple and become a Sea Prince. If you can kill a Sea Prince level genius, the benefits will be amazing. Iron Fox felt something was wrong and said quickly, "My lords, Steelheart is a tank and is most afraid of others not fighting. Let's put him aside and get rid of the archer unit first to win this battle." "No, no, no, Iron Fox. A genius like Steelheart must have tenacious vitality and the means to escape. Get rid of the archer unit first, and he will run away and advance when he sees that the situation is not good. Only by getting rid of him when he feels hopeful can we prevent him from having the idea of escaping." After Pers finished speaking, Hasmo continued to order, "Iron Fox, order your people to hold back other enemies, and they are not allowed to lose or win. Pers and I will deal with Steelheart together. After we kill him, we can blow the horn of counterattack." Swish, swish. 2 blue figures, regardless of Iron Fox's thoughts, flew directly towards Bai Pu. Chapter 622, Group battle killer. Bai Pu was a little puzzled when he saw two Sea Clan warriors coming straight to him. I didn't use any taunting skills to force the enemy to attack me, did I? Did Iron Fox tell them that I was the MT? These two Sea Clan warriors ignored the fragile high-output shooter troops and came to trouble me? Although he was puzzled, Bai Pu's movements were still very fast. He met the two Sea Clan warriors, stabbed them with his shotgun, and a colorful fighting spirit arrow whizzed out. In a duel between masters, a long-range energy attack was used to test the opponent's strength. The shell-faced boss held a deformed sledgehammer and a shell shield with a bright coating on the surface. He injected a trace of light blue energy, and the surface of the shell shield suddenly emitted light, like a smooth mirror. Reflection. Half of the power of the fighting spirit wave that Bai Pu blasted out was reflected back, causing Bai Pu's subsequent attack to stagnate, and he stepped on the gang step to dodge. Fortunately, although the reflected Aoki wave was powerful, it was easier to dodge without Bai Pu's mental lock. However, Bai Pu's expression had already become solemn. The shield in the hand of this shell-faced sea creature was not simple, and it was very likely to be at the level of a golden relic in a certain plane world on the Stellan star. However, shell-faced boss himself was also quite surprised. He looked at his shell shield and saw a not-so-obvious dent on it. It only reflected part of the power. This guy's energy strength is indeed at the Lord level. Boss muttered. The blue-striped Hasmo next to him was even more excited. It must be the effect of the king-level equipment that increased his energy strength. I must explode his purple equipment. Look at me, the beast wave barrier. The deep blue field burst out, and a huge wave like a tide rushed towards Bai Pu. At the top of the wave, huge sea beasts were looming. The giant sea beast rushed towards Bai Pu in a mighty manner. Bai Pu was ready. From the energy aura of these sea beasts, one can sense their tyrannical power, and each one is not easy to mess with. There are so many sea beasts, and the cumulative consumption of professional energy is extremely astonishing. Even the Lord may not be able to do it. How can this blue-striped alien traveler in front of him maintain his domain skills for a long time? There's only one answer: this person must be real and fake, and proficient in some kind of illusion type of mystery. Bai Pu retracted his prismatic demonic key, and a series of defenses were activated on his body, including the volcanic shield, the sand armor, the molten gold armor. The whole person looked like a solidified pure gold statue. A huge wave hit him, and Bai Pu's body was like a reef, standing still. One sea beast after another was smashed to pieces on Bai Pu's body, but the damage caused to him was very little. The diffuse deep blue mist obscured Bai Pu's perception. The hammer in the right hand of the shell-faced boss hit the ground, and blue water columns rushed out from the ground. One of the water columns rushed out from the bottom of Bai Pu's feet. Bai Pu, whose perception was blinded, was immediately knocked into the air. Boss's attacks followed one after another, and a hammer smashed horizontally, with the phantom of a green giant tree. Hasmo also launched an attack at the same time, a long-range azure javelin, emitting a sharp whistle that broke through the air. During the flight, it was still absorbing the energy of the surrounding beast wave barrier to grow stronger, becoming thicker and deeper, and obviously very powerful. However, both of these attacks, which were intended to win, missed. Bai Pu, who was knocked into the air, suddenly bounced up and, at the last second, he ricocheted towards the dual flag in the field. Bai Pu had already used the skill of lasso strike when the dark blue mist obscured his perception. His target was not any enemy, but the dual flag in the field. The dual flag was fixed in place, and Bai Pu had already memorized the position. Even with his eyes closed and his mental perception blocked, he could easily hit it. When the dual lasso hit the dual flag, Bai Pu did not exert force to drag it immediately, but instead stored his strength and did not use it. Sure enough, the opponent cooperated with him, and a column of water sprayed from the ground made Bai Pu float in the air, followed by the two people's combined big move. Bai Pu released the stored strength again, and the dragging effect of the lasso strike took effect. However, as a gold-level item, the dual flag can only be destroyed by attacks with a priority of 10. Bai Pu's lasso attack has a priority of only 9, so dragging is impossible. On the contrary, because Bai Pu himself was in a floating state, he was dragged back by the Daoki lasso. Through this method, Bai Pu avoided the first wave of killing moves of the two alien travelers. When rushing towards the dual flag, before landing, Bai Pu had already regained control of his body from the floating state. Pure blood defense, gene fusion, start. The latest novel is first published on liujishu.com. Two pistols appeared in Bai Pu's hands, and the king-level purple weapon in the dual-wielding state appeared again. The Gangbu was activated, and Bai Pu changed direction in the air and flew towards the crowd of awakeners in Xianshan. Iron Fox. Let your people entangle him and don't let him run away. Boss gave the order through the translator. Boss didn't mind being besieged by many people, which resulted in a decline in the quality of the loot chest. As a traveler from another world, Boss would not explode the treasure chest if he killed Bai Pu. He was a chosen one, and he could get the loot he wanted by sacrificing Bai Pu to the gods. Looking at Boss with a ferocious face, Tihu could only curse inwardly and obey the order. In fact, even if Tihu didn't give the order, the Xianshan Awakeners would only listen to Boss's orders. These Xianshan Awakeners who are still loyal to the Fangzhou auction house, although they are the confidants cultivated by Tihu for many years, have completely turned to the Stellan Star Sea clan in recent times. The Sea clan will conquer the earth. This is a fact that all of them firmly believe in, and it is also the basis for Tihu to persuade them to fight against the official. For the Xianshan Awakeners, the Sea clan is the conqueror, and Tihu is just a pseudo-military leader. When there is a deviation in the orders of the two, it is definitely more important to please the Sea clan leaders. Bai Pu's combat expertise and agility were ridiculously high at this time. Every time he stabbed with a pistol in his right hand, blood would be drawn, and the attacks of the surrounding enemies were always blocked by the cane in his left hand. The two states of Bai Pu's king-level purple weapon, Final Breath and Wall of Despair, were also constantly superimposed. The speed of superposition this time was much faster than the last time he fought King Qian. When Bai Pu saw the dual-wielding form of the king-level purple weapon, he thought it was a killer weapon for group battles. With the superposition of the two states, Bai Pu's speed became faster and faster, and the fixed damage reduction became higher and higher. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. He should be in a faster and faster state of gain. You bunch of trash, stop giving him superimposed states. Boss scolded. Chapter 623 Dust-Free Land. After hearing Boss's scolding, the awakened people of Xianshan didn't understand the language, but Iron Fox, who was wearing a translator, was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. You were the one who asked my people to entangle him, and you are the one who called my people useless now. You still asked us to get out of the way? Do you really think that you can get out of the way just by wanting to instill Heart's prismatic field? During Bai Pu's several attacks and defenses, he had completed the precasting action. The power of the strong wind at different angles began to accumulate. He raised his last shot and completely completed this ultimate skill. Eye of the Storm. The air compressed, and a whistling vortex of blue fighting spirit visible to the naked eye was running. The awakened people of Xianshan around slid towards the direction of the Eye of the Storm. Even if they tried to flee outside, it was useless. Because Bai Pu's prismatic field limited their sprint and acceleration capabilities, Bai Pu also mobilized the magic power of the earth element and cast a large-scale mud spell, which further slowed down these people's speed and made them walk with difficulty. Moreover, Bai Pu was not alone. Behind him were the awakened people of the Xiao Gang and the Tibi Guild, as well as the archer troops who were attacking from a distance. The magic bullets were like locusts, constantly harvesting the lives of the awakened people of Xianshan. If Bai Pu had not ordered in advance that the archer troops were not allowed to attack the two alien walkers in Tihu, the three people would definitely not be so comfortable now. The reason why Bai Pu ordered this was very simple, for the honor points of the three people. Tihu was a bronze brigadier general, and the two alien walkers were also top awakened people. Killing these three people would definitely get a lot of honor points in the end. Dustless Land. Tihu had no choice but to spend a lot of money. This, Dustless Land, scroll was one of the treasures accumulated by his miracle auction house for many years. A huge hexagram slowly unfolded. Within the range of the hexagram, whether it was the Beast Wave Barrier, the Iron Curtain Field, or Bai Pu's prismatic field, all dissipated into nothingness. This hexagram land has become a forbidden magic land. Any energy field, energy wave, etc. will dissipate. The whistling magic bullets, the energy of various attributes attached to them dissipated, turned into ordinary bullets, and the lethality was greatly reduced. Even Bai Pu's two field skills, Eye of the Storm and Mud, disappeared, and the ground turned back into hard mountain. Brothers, take this opportunity to quickly attack and kill the enemy shooter troops. Leave the steel heart to the two masters of the alien world, and I will deal with it. Iron Fox shouted loudly. The awakened people of Xianshan also found that the two alien world walkers were unreliable and simply did not regard them as human beings, so they fled from Bai Pu and rushed towards the shooter troops. But at this time, the two major states on Bai Pu had been superimposed 13 times. It means 39 points of speed bonus and 39 points of fixed damage reduction. Boss, Hasmo and Iron Fox rushed over at the same time and besieged Bai Pu in the dustless land, but Bai Pu was not afraid at all. Although he didn't have the special expertise of dual-wielding weapons, Bai Pu was still able to maintain his offensive and defensive strength with the support of high agility and high speed. The shotgun was as fast as lightning, and the cane could always block the attack. 14th floor, 15th floor, 16th floor. Seeing Bai Pu getting faster and harder, Boss and Hasmo were a little scared and said sternly, "Iron Fox, remove your downfield props, which greatly limits our ability to use the secret." Iron Fox was used to being scolded, so he stopped the transmission of professional energy. The precious gold-level scroll of the dustless land ended its effectiveness and turned into dim psychic particle powder, dissipating without a trace. Anyway, the awakened people of Xianshan went to attack the official shooter troops. Without Steel Heart, the Xiao Gang and the Iron Wall Guild alone could not defend the shooter troops. Without the pressure of the shooter troops, they still had to win this battle. Master Steel Heart, the situation is urgent. Do you want to use the National Destiny props? Kunpeng's voice came from the temporary team channel. No hurry. Bai Pu's calm voice sounded. After the effect of the dustless land disappeared, the volcanic shield on Bai Pu's body was restored. He turned around and stabbed out with a gun. The shield energy gathered and merged into a blazing meteor at the tip of Bai Pu's gun. At a distance of more than 20 meters, the blazing meteor shot out, towards, the dual flag. Crack! The dual flag was broken in the middle. Light and shadow intertwined, and two figures reappeared. One was Ziyue Hulan, who was a little embarrassed, but there were no injuries on his body. The other was the first candidate for the sword Saint Zhou, who looked around in a daze. The latest novels are first published on the 69th book bar. Ziyue Hulan saw the broken dual flag, and then saw Bai Pu, and instantly understood, and said with great joy, "Thank you, thank you." He is best at the Wufang Huliu secret system, and has a strong ability to escape, but his frontal combat ability is average. Being in a narrow place like the dual space, facing a master of Zhuan's level, he must have suffered a lot. If Bai Pu hadn't broken the dual flag, Ziyue Hulan didn't know whether he would die in the dual space. Back to the outside world, Ziyue Hulan escaped to the archer unit very skillfully, like a dragon returning to the sea and a tiger entering the mountains. He raised his hand and released a large-scale wind field, blowing all kinds of long-range attacks crooked and greatly reducing their power. In this way, the archer unit is protected and can output without worry. Zhuan didn't dare to chase Ziyue Hulan at this time. He was just an agility master. If he was controlled by Ziyue Hulan for 1 or 2 seconds, it would be enough for the archer unit to shoot and receive. What's going on? The dual flag can only be affected if the attack reaches a priority of 10 points. Zhuan was obviously very dissatisfied with the prey flying away, and looked at Tihu. Tihu said with a gloomy face, "Gangxin must have used some weird trump card to destroy the dual flag. Don't worry about it, Zhuan, you take over for me and besiege Gangxin, I will deal with the official shooter team." While speaking, Tihu activated the Iron Curtain field and used the ultimate skill, Group Armament. Dots of iron filings covered the surface of the awakened people of Xianshan and quickly turned into a layer of illusory steel skin. The bullets of the shooter team hit the illusory steel skin and knocked off some of the iron filings. But as Tihu's Iron Curtain field was running, new iron filings would be added. In this way, the killing efficiency of the official shooter team was reduced a lot, and the situation was temporarily stabilized. Tihu hoped that Hasmo and Boss would cooperate with Zhuan, and the three masters could kill Gangxin as soon as possible and lay the foundation for victory. His group weapons consumed too much energy and could not last for more than a few minutes. But in the blink of an eye, a scream came from behind Iron Fox. Boss's body was pierced directly by a pistol. The tip of the gun even went through Boss's back and punctured his heart. Chapter 624, Numerical Overwhelm. At this time, Bai Pu's 2 states have been superimposed to the 20th level. Not to mention the fixed 60 damage reduction given by Wall of Despair, just the 60 attack speed of Final Breath is already amazing enough. Bai Pu's original agility is 130 points, plus 9 Shinran attribute points, and dual-wielding king-level purple weapons provide 60 points of agility, which is 190 points of agility. Swedish Royal Agility Ring provides 15 attack speed, and Strong Wind Feat special effects provide 15 attack speed, which is 30 attack speed. The 20th level of Final Breath provides 60 attack speed, and Bai Pu's attack speed is equivalent to 280 points at this time. In the Awakener stage, 280 attack speed is already proud of all agility masters. Even the former Shinrin Kinkyong, with full state and potion enhancement, can hardly surpass the natural chasm of 280 attack speed. This is pure numerical crushing. Boss originally relied on his shell shield to frequently block Bai Pu's attacks. However, the complete version of Doomsday Purple Weapon has increased Bai Pu's energy intensity again, plus 120, from comparable to the Lord to comparable to the Enhanced Lord. This is also the reason why Bai Pu can cut off the dual flag remotely with the ultimate skill, Volcano Face Bombardment. Of course, Bai Pu actually underestimated his ability. The bombardment special effect of Volcano Face originally has the characteristic of shock deceleration effect priority +1. Even if the incomplete version of the purple weapon is used to bombard, it is enough to cut off the dual flag, and the complete version of the purple weapon is not needed. The camera turns to the battle between Bai Pu and Bo Si. As Bai Pu's speed gets faster and faster, there is already an afterimage that is difficult to distinguish with the naked eye when he attacks. Bo Si gradually cannot keep up with the speed of Bai Pu's pistol, and each time he attacks, it is no longer a perfect blocking angle. Failure to provide a perfect blocking angle means that the durability of the shield drops too quickly, the damage it takes increases, and the most fatal thing is that the stiffness time of taking attacks increases. This is commonly known as the flaw becomes bigger. If Hasmo hadn't been there to harass him with his true and false, real and unpredictable illusions, Pers would have been unable to keep up with Bai Pu's attack speed. As time went on, Bai Pu's layers accumulated, and his attack speed soared to the equivalent of 280 agility. Even if Hasmo and Iron Fox's harassment was eliminated, Pers's flaws could be easily captured. Xian, who replaced Iron Fox, was a candidate for the Sword Saint, and was best at armor penetration and single target output. Xian misjudged Bai Pu's tankiness and Bai Pu's determination to end the battle quickly, and used his ultimate skill Great Breaking Slash to attack instead of defend, forcing Bai Pu to return to help. In Xian's view, Bai Pu's volcanic face shield was still cooling down, and he certainly didn't dare to take his Great Breaking Slash head-on. But Bai Pu had already started Adaptive Evolution, and also started the Ancestor's Blessing 50% damage reduction skill of the Immortal King 4-piece set. After the percentage damage reduction, we have to consider the fixed damage reduction. Bai Pu's fixed damage reduction is now 246 points. This big breaking slash only opened a wound about an inch deep on Bai Pu's back. Looking at the blood dripping, the actual damage was only 105 points, which can be called a drizzle. Bai Pu took advantage of the impact of this sword and accelerated forward. Taking advantage of Boss's originally enlarged flaw, he avoided the shield block with a shot and pierced his heart. This shot went straight through Boss's chest. Boss's body, under the influence of the collapse of the mountain, even had signs of being torn into pieces and broken into pieces. This was the instant kill effect of the collapse of the mountain. However, when Boss's body began to collapse, green mucus appeared between the tissues of various parts of his body, just like a piece of lotus root that was broken open and appeared to be sticky. These green mucus are the embodiment of pure water energy. When Bai Pu drew back the pistol and blocked the attacks of the other two, Boss's body, which was about to be torn into pieces, was stuck back together by the green slime. Green energy flowed through the seams of the torn body tissues, and the repair was completed in a few breaths. What kind of ability is this? Fighting against the alien walker, he could not get the information about the skills used by the other party. Boss laughed wildly and made a series of buzzing sounds. He must be showing off his repair ability. There is no perfect skill. His repair ability must have drawbacks. Maybe the attribute is damaged, maybe the upper limit of the life value is reduced, and of course the most likely is a large amount of professional energy consumption. No matter which possibility it is, it represents a result such a repair can never be repeated indefinitely. There was no information prompt from the spirit world, but Bai Pu still had his own super brain. He came to such a judgment in just a moment. Without the slightest hesitation, Bai Pu's pistol stabbed out dozens of real gun shadows in succession, wrapping Boss in it again. In Hasmo's water domain, Bai Pu ignored Zhou Yun's sharp blade slashes. At most, he used his cane to block them when stacking the layers of Wall of Despair. Because Bai Pu maintained a dual adaptive evolutionary posture against water attribute damage and sharp damage, and also had the damage reduction of Ancestral Blessing. In a short period of time, ignoring the output of two masters is still no problem. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. Bai Pu concentrated his energy, one shot faster than the other, and each shot was attached with the secret of collapsing mountains. He cracked Bo Si 3 times in a row within 7 seconds. Each time, Bo Si quickly repaired himself and recovered. Zhou Yun, who was ignored, was furious, and his long sword bloomed with silver plum blossom marks all over the sky. The secret skill 9 styles, Snow Plum Fights for Spring, covered many vital points on Bai Pu's body. The power of this move lies in that the damage of each attack is calculated separately, which is equivalent to launching 9 critical attacks on Bai Pu at the same time. Bai Pu's left hand touched his waist, and the dark gold tower shield flew out with a whistling sound, breaking into countless tiny pieces of armor in the air, and embedded around Bai Pu's body. The alert of the Demon Spider Queen, the Master Protection special effect, is activated. The tip of Zhuan's long sword only left a series of crisp sounds like iron forging on the armor covering Bai Pu's body. At the same time, the multiple unicorn phantom whales gathered by Hasmo took turns to explode around Bai Pu, but this damage was also endured by Bai Pu with his powerful damage reduction. Boom! Another shotgun attack swept away Boss's shell shield and pierced his throat. Boss's body surface shattered like glass, and then these broken glass turned into countless water droplets and scattered completely. This is a fake body. Bai Pu was not discouraged at all after hitting the fake body. This proved that Boss's self-repair ability was close to the limit, so he used the skill of escaping from the shell to escape. The prismatic field suddenly switched attributes, from color to sign. Under the sweep of wind attribute energy, Bai Pu quickly found Boss in the invisible state and stabbed him again. At this time, Boss's skin was extremely delicate, just like a lobster or crab that had just shed its shell. He was terrified, but because of the language barrier, he couldn't even say a word of begging for mercy, and was stabbed on the spot, and light blue blood was splashed all over the sky. Chapter 625, The Key to the Otherworldly Traveler. You killed an alien walker, and you received 17,926 points of honor. The opponent's Will War rank is Bronze Brigadier General. Based on your rank, Gold Lieutenant Colonel, you received a special item, Alien Walker Key. Bai Pu reached out and grasped the golden key, which was faintly shining with a hint of dark gold. Instantly, a series of prompt messages came. To open the Alien Walker Key, you can choose one item from the opponent's leftover equipment, power points, or storage space to extract. If you choose equipment, you will receive a piece of equipment that the opponent is wearing. If you choose power points, you will receive 50% of the opponent's PowerPoint account balance, converted into Gaia Will Universal Power Points. If you choose storage space, you will receive 5 random items in the opponent's storage space. Gaia Will is very considerate. Originally, killing an alien walker would not give any treasure chests or other loot, only honor. Unexpectedly, after Bai Pu was promoted to the rank of Gold Lieutenant Colonel, he would actually get the key of the alien traveler, similar to the treasure chest lottery. Of course, this is also related to the fact that the opponent is a Bronze Brigadier General. Although this kind of Brigadier General level expert is not a seed player, he must be very important in the spiritual world war. The most obvious thing is the psychic particles after the death of Shellface. It is almost like a real pure particle, which is integrated into the earth, space and time of the earth. Obviously, the death of such a level of alien walker can benefit Gaia's will. It is also right to share some of the benefits with Bai Pu. The gold rank is considered a seed player of Gaia's will, and he is one of them. Time is tight. Bai Pu did not open it for the time being, and directly put away the key of the alien traveler. After killing Shellface, there is also an alien walker with blue stripes and the Earth human spies Huan standing in front of Bai Pu. The blue-striped sea tribe Hasmo was scared to death when he saw Boss die. He never expected that Bai Pu, who possessed the king-level purple weapon, was so strong, and he couldn't help but feel regretful. Just as Bai Pu's eyes glanced over, Hasmo no longer hesitated and opened his mouth to spray. A stream of pure dark blue energy spurted out, turning into large clumps of blue ink, instantly enveloping Bai Pu. Bai Pu was surrounded by indigo, as if he was in the deep sea, unable to distinguish between east and west. He tried to release his mental power, but the thin line of mental power probed into the blue ink area, like a mud cow entering the sea, and all contact was lost. Not only mental power, but even Bai Pu's prismatic field, wind, was affected, and the energy consumption of the supporting field was rapidly amplified, like stirring in a pool of muddy water, and the energy required was incomparable to before. Bai Pu put away the prismatic field. This looks like an ocean octopus spraying ink to escape. Is this the innate skill of this sea creature? Bai Pu was not afraid. He was still in the triple state of adaptive evolution, ancestral blessing and demonic power explosion. Even if his perception was blocked by the blue ink, it was impossible for someone to kill him in just a few breaths. Unless the other party had several national-level props. Bai Pu's heart was shocked, and he quickly used the gangbu to escape. As a result, he found that within the range of the blue ink, the sprint speed of the gangbu is reduced by more than half. Originally as fast as the wind, now it was as slow as running. It took a full 4 seconds for Bai Pu to finally rush out of the blue ink area. The blue light of the title mystery flashed, and under the energy flushing, the indigo color on Bai Pu's body surface quickly faded, and the blocked perception was restored. Bai Pu immediately unfolded the prismatic field, wind, trying to rely on the perception of the wind to search for the enemy, but he failed to find Hasmo's shadow. Master Steelheart, the sea creature with the octopus pattern, went into blue portal after spraying ink and disappeared. Kunpeng had been watching Bai Pu's battle remotely, and now he reported through voice transmission. Portal? Didn't we use a space interference device to block the space and time of the border of Xianshan? Bai Pu frowned slightly, but now was not the time to delve into it. His eyes looked at the last person standing in front of him, Xiaoyan. You're not running. Bai Pu remembered that his prismatic domain was temporarily retracted for a few seconds because of the blue ink of the sea creature. Xiaoyan was also an agile master. If he wanted to run, this time was enough for him to run very far. Master Hasmo ordered me to stop you. Xiaoyan said. You are really obedient. You actually sacrificed your life for the sea creature. With such awareness, why did you betray your own tribe? Bai Pu frowned. Xiaoyan shook his head. I don't run because I don't have the innate skill of space teleportation. Even if I run, I can't escape from this Xianshan junction. Sooner or later, I will be caught and killed by you. The latest novel is first published on the 69th book bar. This is the truth. The Xianshan junction is blocked by a space interference device. Only a teleportation skill with a priority of no less than 10 points can escape. And innate skills may have additional priorities. So, if I have to die anyway, I'd rather die in your hands. Xiaoyan's face was indifferent. I don't regret my choice. By joining the Sea Clan, I can get the guidance I want. It's just that I made a wrong bet. I didn't expect you to be so powerful. That's all. Zhu Huilin heard Xiaoyan's explanation and sighed from a distance. Xiaoyan, you are too paranoid. With your current accumulation, it is possible to get the Lord template by entering the Ascension plane. Why do you force yourself to comprehend the prototype of the true meaning? Xiaoyan asked back. Zhu Huilin, why don't you enter the Ascension plane? Aren't you also seeking like me, wanting to replicate the path that Master Danshili has taken? Zhu Huilin was speechless for a moment. The true meaning is the ultimate skill at the level of the Evolver. The top awakeners have a very small possibility of seeing through their future true meaning path, that is, mastering the true meaning prototype. As an advancement of the mystery, even the true meaning in the prototype state has incredible power. After comprehending the rudiments of the true meaning, you will definitely have a much better chance of ascending to the higher plane. Bai Pu saw that with the defeat and escape of the two alien travelers, the fighting spirit of the awakened people in Xianshan was wavering. However, as Zhou Yun said, these people could not escape, so they could only fight with all their strength, trying to defeat the official army and win a glimmer of hope for themselves. Bai Pu no longer wasted time. At this time, his attack speed had reached 301 points. When he attacked, it was like he had 3 heads and 6 arms, so Zhou Yun had no time to parry, and blood kept spurting out of his body. In the end, Zhou Yun was shot dead by Bai Pu. He did not have the abnormal self-repair ability of Boss, and when the tip of the gun was nailed into his heart, he was doomed to die. Capture the Iron Fox alive, and the rest will not matter. Bai Pu raised his hand and joined the battle. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.